Hi, my name is Anna Surovkova and I'm from the Czech Republic.
My name is Victor and I'm from Perth, Australia.
My name is Oindrila and I'm from India.
Hello everyone, my name is Aman Brijbhushan Tiwari.
Hey, I'm Kiran Panjwani, a third-year computer science student studying at DHS University in Karachi, Pakistan.
हेलो नमस्ते सत श्री अकाल आदाब मैं हूं मनीष कुमार बर्नवाल एंड आई एम फ्रॉम कोलकाता व्हिच इज आल्सो नोन एज सिटी ऑफ जॉय इन इंडिया
In your local community, you get to connect with other students, you get to learn from other students, and you get to interact with more people.
What I'm looking for in the Student Summit, in addition to improving my technical skills, it's to be able to connect with other students around the world who are making an impact.
What I hope to get out of this summit is engagement and connection with other Microsoft Learn student ambassadors.
I'm inspired to innovate by the slightest belief that my work can improve the work efficiency of fellow students and the state of my community.
Another thing that inspires me to innovate is the obvious need to make the world a more habitable place and make technology more accessible to everyone.
I am inspired by the current problems that we come across daily in our lives and how people come in to solve these problems harnessing the power of technology.
I cannot wait for the Microsoft Student Summit because I know I'm going to meet more people, I'm going to learn more, and obviously I'm going to interact with people from across the globe, not only Kenya. Yeah, and I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So I hope you guys are really gonna have a great learning and awesome time here at Microsoft Student Summit. So enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Microsoft Student Summit. I am Khushboo Verma and today I am joined by Scott. Hey Scott, how are you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm doing excellent as well. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I'm just excited to be here to talk to all the young people at the Student Summit, the folks that are early in career that are coming in today. We're going to hear from all kinds of folks about their journey into tech. And I'm excited that you and I kind of represent the best of Microsoft, both people who've been here a long time and people who are just getting started.
Yeah, that's so exciting, that students here are here to interact with the local student communities and hear from Microsoft leaders, cloud advocates, MVPs, and Microsoft Learn student ambassadors. So why don't we start with your journey into tech?
Well, I'm not sure. We should compare journeys, I think, you and I. So the first time I ever saw a computer, I was 12, and my grade 5 teacher brought a computer into the room that the entire room could share. So we didn't have individual computers, but we had one computer that we could all take turns on, and we had a sign-up sheet. We could say, I'm going to use the computer at 4 o'clock. When was the first time you ever saw a computer?
I think I was also in school at that time when I first saw a computer, but my first interaction with programming wasn't until I was in class 9th or 10th when I first got to know what HTML was, CSS was. I think that was my first interaction with computers. But I think the students here today who are joining us might have had, different experiences with computers as well. Some of them might have been introduced early on. Some of them might be having their first interactions lately.
And that's what's exciting, is that so many different people came into tech in different ways. Some people, their first computer might be a phone or a tablet. It might have been a laptop. It may have been one that was given to them, or it may have been one at the library that they would visit, like me.
Yep. In fact, when I remember when I was in school, I was least interested in tech. And today I am a software engineer at Microsoft. And I think communities have played such an important role in my journey because when I entered university and I got exposed to these wonderful communities, especially Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador community, I got, exposed to such diverse set of opinions, such diverse set of ideas, possibilities to learn, and so many resources. So I no longer felt like I was restrained to any demographic or any university. I had the internet, I had all the resources, and all I had to do was learn. So what advice do you have for the students who are joining us today? How can they learn to the best of their capabilities and make the best out of this summit?
I think that you said it right when you said it was about community, right? Once you find computers, you find tech, the next step is to find your people. And your people might be based around your identity or your location. It might be based around your technology. So you might want to find your C# people, right? Or you might want to find your university, study group, and then spend time with them, whether it be virtually, like we are right now, or if you can, in person. When I was coming up, we found user groups and get-togethers, right? And being able to have just a dinner or a lunch with like-minded people to talk about tech is so important because it reminds us that we're not alone. And when our students from the Student Summit here perhaps come and join Microsoft in the future, they might initially feel very alone, like, okay, now I've made it, I'm inside, I'm at a big company, now what do I do? The way that you solve that is by finding friends and colleagues to work with, to study with, and for support. And that support is so important. And that's why it's great to have student summits like this to let people know that they're not alone.
I completely agree to that. And I think one of the best things about working at Microsoft is the growth mindset that, the company promotes. So it's like we embrace challenges. We are not afraid to try out new things or step out of our comfort zone. And this is something that I would also tell to my younger self, right? Someone who was absolutely afraid to go out and meet new people, try out new things, or, stepping out in uncomfortable positions and trying to learn something new and having that fear of being a beginner. But I think that here we have this growth mindset, and it means that, okay, we can embrace our failures and we can be a beginner at something. But if we rely on each other, if we go and ask for help, and if we network with the right set of people, then there's nothing that can't be achieved.
I'm curious, how do you ask questions inside the company and be not worried that someone will judge you because you're asking a dumb question? Because I don't think there's any dumb questions, and I want people to ask. But I'm curious, do you ever feel like nervous? I don't want to ask that question.
Oh, no, definitely not. I think initially I used to feel that, but I understand that the culture here is very supportive, and everyone who, joins straight out of college, it's definitely understandable that they have probably not worked on a certain set of technologies, but as far as they're comfortable with the basics and they have the curiosity to learn, they can figure things out. So I think most of us here are figuring things out every single day, and the peers here are very supportive. So if someone comes up to me and asks me for help, I would be more than happy to help them. And similarly, if I go to someone, they are always so supportive that I've never felt like, I am shy of asking questions or anything. And this is what I would suggest to, people who are here today as well, that if you're starting out, ask as many questions as you can, because as Scott mentioned, there are no wrong questions or no dumb questions.
Yeah. I think another thing that you said that I think is very important is understanding the basics. So like, what are the basics? I think a lot of folks, when we are learning in school, we focus on for loops and syntax and this language and that language, but we kind of forget about characteristics of computers. How much latency is in a system, memory, CPU, network. No matter what language you're using, no matter what system you're building, these things are all still computers. So understanding the basics, do you think that's a really important part of being a software engineer?
Oh, yes, definitely. There are so many technologies that I've worked on so far. And the only thing that I've understood is that if you are comfortable with the basics of one language, then it is very easy for you to switch between multiple languages. I remember when I was in university, I was so confused whether I should get started with web development, or should I get into Android development, or should I pick up machine learning? Because there are so many technologies and everything is evolving so fast that it's almost impossible to know everything. But one thing that I've learned so far in my journey till here is that if you're comfortable with the basics, if you understand problem solving, then there is no such problem that you can't solve.
Yeah, problem solving is a big important thing. And the fact that what's the difference between an early in career and a later in career person? Is it that I know more? It's actually the fact that I've been able to exist in this space for a long time. So when it seems like I know stuff, it's really that I've just seen it before. And that's what's great, because we want you, Khushboo, and we want our friends who are going to come and join us at some point in Microsoft to stick around for 5, 10, 20 years so that they too will have the gift of having seen it before. And the difference between an early in career engineer who maybe will go and Google with Bing for the instructions and the answers. And someone who's been around a long time is just that I've seen it before. So I don't have to search because I'm like, oh, I remember 5 years ago when I hit that same error. And I want everyone to have that feeling of knowing the answer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like there's so many things that even I'm getting comfortable with. So that is the thing that you just figure out in the process. There will not be any point where you'll have figured everything out. So it's the journey and you'll keep on figuring out things every single day. But Scott, I have one more question for you. What is some advice you would give to people who are attending today? How can they make the most out of this summit?
I would see if you can connect with some people. We're going to see folks on social. We're going to have opportunities to meet and chat with people. Find a natural opportunity to find your tribe, find your group of people that are interested in the technology or the social change that you're interested in, and see if you can spend some time with them. Because when the summit's over, what happens then? Right? So maybe the summit happens and you can connect with your student ambassadors on the campus that you're at. Or maybe you go and join a local user group that isn't a student-based user group and like start to slowly enter that professional space.
Yes, I totally agree. Like even at the Microsoft Student Summits that I have attended as a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, the best thing that I found about it was the collaborations that resulted after the summit. So I meet people from different backgrounds, different universities, even different nationalities. And then the collaborations that come out of those events is something that I forever cherish because it gives me an understanding into how different communities operate. And I do understand that each local community has its own different set of challenges, problems, and their own, goals and visions. And the exposure that these events lead us to, I think it's wonderful. And I should think everyone should, leverage this opportunity to make the most out of it, network with the right set of people, and learn as much as they can.
Yeah. You're very wise, Khushboo, and I think that our friends who are here at the Student Summit can learn a lot from you and your journey. So I appreciate you bringing me along for the ride this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. And now let's hand it over to our local hosts.
Welcome everybody to the Asia Pacific Student Summit. I'm Renee Noble, and this is my co-host Victor Olette. And we're super excited to be here with you all today. To start this off, I do want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we join you from today, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And of course, extending that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are here today. I'm joining you from the Gadigal land of the Eora Nation. And where are you joining us from, Victor?
Yeah, I'm joining from the land of the Wajik people of the Nyunga Nation.
Thank you very much. So if you are joining us today from Australia, please let us know the traditional owners of the land from which you join us, or if you're joining us from New Zealand or any other land that you want to pay respect to, please do drop it in the chat. And thank you to everybody who has already said hello in the chat. Please let us know that you're here and where you're joining us from in the world. We'd love to say hi. So to give a brief introduction to ourselves, I'm Renee Noble. I'm the Regional Cloud Advocate for the Australia Pacific region. And that means I do a bunch of YouTube and Twitch streams teaching people how to get involved with Microsoft tech, reaching out in the community to people, especially like students, to help you get up to speed on all the cool tech and teach you to code and whatever you need. I do take requests, so do get in contact with me. And Victor, tell us about yourself.
I'm a student myself here in Perth, Australia. I'm studying chemical engineering, which I know is not a tech field in that sense, but that's my area in terms of energy. I must say also I'm a student ambassador. I'm a recent Gold Microsoft Learn student ambassador. And through that, I found a lot of value in connecting with students, and Renee herself, that's how I got to know her as well. So it's been great value, and I'm looking forward to this session and being with each and every one of you.
Amazing. I'm a former chemical engineer myself, so always love another chemical engineer who gets into tech as well. And Victor is our most recent Gold Student Ambassador for Australia, so that's very exciting. So we're going to talk a little bit more about being a student ambassador a little bit later in the show when we have a little bit of some downtime. So yes, here are our lovely pictures, and do reach out to us. Our Twitter handles are on our little names just below our talking faces. So before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that we do have a code of conduct. It is in the chat if you want to give it a full read through and in the description. And just please be respectful throughout the various activities and in the chat comments as we do this session today. But yeah, let's kick it off. Firstly, we're going to be using Menti today for a way to engage with you all. So we'd love it if you can join us here on Menti by either going to this QR code, following the link that's in the chat with our lovely producer Sarah dropping things in the chat for you so you can click through to the various things we have on offer today. Click through to that, or just type this in. You can do it on your phone and put in this code 15414953. And then we want you to tell us where you're joining us from in the world today. Because, yeah, we've got Menti open and we can actually have a look. We've already got some dots appearing, which is very exciting. Everyone's joining in. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved. People are joining from all over the place. Lots of people over in Perth, where Victor is, as well as over near the Sydney region where I am.
New Zealand as well.
New Zealand, and just all over the Asia Pacific region, which is very exciting because this is a whole region event. This is part of a global summit, in fact. There's going to be 8 of these events around the world. And we're very glad that you've joined us here for the very first event because, you know, we do get the 7th of October before everybody else. So we're kicking it off, and amazing to have you all here. We might, have a peek back at this a little bit later to see where we're all up to. But yeah, let's have a look at the next question because we also want to know a little bit more about our audience before we get into today's session. So we've got another question for you in Menti. You can use the same Menti links throughout the show. Let us know what you're studying. And in a second, I'm going to ask you what year you're studying as well. So lots of computer scientists, people in IT, data science. Very cool. Maybe some other chemical engineers in here, Victor. What do you think?
In the other section. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. I love it.
Hopefully someone from business. Anyone from
business? Yeah. We're here for all students because we have like some entry-level content for you today, as well as just some good advice from our careers panel that's coming up shortly. So very keen to get onto that in a second. But lots of computer scientists, engineers, everyone is here. So yeah, let's have a look at what year of your study you are all in, which is our next question. So let us know what year of your studies you're in. Lots of second years, and they're speedy second years as well. What year of your studies are you in, Victor? How many years have you been at uni now?
Well, I'll say 3. This is third year.
Third year of your PhD, but all up, how many years?
I didn't want to say that. That all up would be that would be around maybe 7 years in total.
7 years, yeah.
Which is not on the list, is it?
I did my 5 years, and I haven't looked back. No, I kind of look back. It's a pretty good time. Lots of awesome things to take advantage of when you're a student. So yeah, look at all these people, other people, some other long haul people in there in the other category by the looks of it, I reckon, or 5+ years. So lots of people in there. So let's jump back and let's have a look at what's coming up in the schedule today. I'm going to ask you what you're excited for most in the schedule in a second, Victor. But we're going to kick it off with our local keynote. We have an amazing local founder from our region who's going to tell you about her journey. We've got a careers panel. We're launching the Imagine Cup today, and as the first region to launch it, I feel like we're the official launch. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
Something we call the Imagination Collaboration. You're going to have to hang around to find out what that is, but it's going to be very fun. We have a little break, and then we're coming back for our workshop content. We're trying to tell you, help you get introduced to the cloud, get started with GitHub, deploy a resume site. In 30 minutes, you're going to have a resume site live on the internet. We have an Imagine Cup panel, and then we're going to close it off, giving you all the cool links again. So yeah, what are you most excited for, Victor?
Okay, I think all of them. I'm looking forward to all of them, but I must say, if I have to pick, it's what is the cloud session? I think that's a question I had for myself earlier at some point as well. So I'm looking forward to see how that will be explained.
Me too. That's just a good one. It's not so scary when someone sits down and tells you about it. So let's get moving towards it. But do get prepared for the session. So you'll need to have a GitHub account created and logged in. That's the most important one. And if you can, log into Microsoft Azure, make an account. If you have a .edu, maybe you have a .edu AU or .edu NZ or .edu, whatever that comes after it, you can use that to sign up for your free Azure student credits. If you do get stuck because your email account isn't valid for some reason, you can go down in the description and we have a helpful way for you to kind of get around the process. So check that out because we'll be deploying our website on Azure later in the session. Cool. So we have one more question for Menti for you to kick it over before we kick it off with our session. And then we're going to hand over to our very special keynote in a second. So what are you most excited for? Let us know. Back to Menti. It's the same link all throughout. Resources for students. Careers advice. Always good picks. Love it. Okay. Ooh, it's a competition. But everyone's quite, the computer scientists are interested in many things, except applying the skills. They're not interested in that, so that's interesting. IT and engineering, they do want to apply their skills. So yeah, but everyone, we've got a kind of winner learning about Microsoft technologies. That is convenient because we are here at the Microsoft Reactor. And if you're keen to learn more about that, we have more Reactor streams every day of the week, basically, where you can learn more stuff. So do stay connected on YouTube, follow us, or whatever you like. But let's go, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Victor, to introduce our first guest.
Yep, awesome. So we're starting off with the local keynote titled My Founder's Journey, and we'll be having Laneta Hutchinson. Laneta is a Samoan New Zealander and the co-founder and CEO of Explain. She brings a wealth of experience as a cross-functional operator and leader in software and is on a mission to bring more diversity to the technology industry. A former athlete, Laneta was a member of the New Zealand water polo team and migrated to the USA on an athletic scholarship. Laneta discovered her passion for enabling others to reach their potential while she served as an NCAA Division I coach. She holds a master's in information systems and bachelor's degrees in both psychology and sociology. I think that's a really diverse wealth of skills and experience, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing from you. So without further ado, handing it over to you, Laneta.
Thank you so much. Let's see how my slides go. Hello, everyone. Talofa lava. I'm Laneta Hutchinson. I'm a co-founder and the CEO of ExplainDev. ExplainDev is an AI assistant for programmers. And like an expert on your development team, ExplainDev answers your technical questions at your level while staying in the context of your code. Now, I'm thrilled to be here participating with you today for the same reason I'm jazzed to work on ExplainDev every day. I see your upskilling in tech as a potential unlocking of solutions that will change our world for the better. Because software allows us to achieve seemingly impossible tasks. It affects all fields, including medicine, energy, entertainment, transportation, space exploration. And it's the advances in these technologies that drive changes in the world around us. I praise you for the continuous learning journey that you've kicked off and are watering because you're here and it's setting you up to meaningfully affect the causes you care about. Now, if the power of your decision to start in tech and the breadth and impact of technology is something you already appreciate, that you already get that, then props to you because you are way ahead of where I was when I was a student. Today, I'm going to be sharing my path into tech and becoming a founder, and I'll share a couple of practices that served me along the way. My journey to being a founder starts with my journey to tech. I grew up in New Zealand. I'm a New Zealand born and raised Samoan. And in 2006, I heard that women on the New Zealand water polo national team were getting scholarships to go to the University of Hawaii. Now, no one in my family had gone to university yet. But when I heard that this road to university paid for by sport was possible, my goals were set. And my 13-year-old self made a plan. I'll get good enough that local teams will help me to pay for my trainings and competitions because I'll help them win. And I'll become the best in New Zealand for my age. And then that will help me to make the senior national team. And then I'll compete at a World Cup or something, and I'll get scouted from there. And I'll be the first in my family to go to university. Bold for a kid that couldn't swim more than 4 laps. But long story short, the plan worked. And I became part of the 1% of athletes who are offered full athletic scholarships. I attended Arizona State University and studied psychology and sociology. I knew that I had to facilitate as many options as possible for myself from the scholarship. And so I doubled my course load to get 2 degrees instead of just 1. I got literally all A's, and I was thrilled to learn about human behavior. And I got to learn about how to run experiments, how to test hypotheses. I learned how to conduct and publish research, and I got a taste for working with data. Now, service is an inherent value of Pacific culture. So my next step after I graduated needed to either serve my community at home or give back to this water polo vehicle that I had been on. Happily, I was granted an opportunity to coach water polo at another university after I graduated. Coaching meant sharing my water polo knowledge and empowering an awesome team of women, which was fantastic. But it also meant that tuition for a master's would be paid for. And feeling that I needed to earn some money to give back, I actually just Googled high-paying master's degree. And lucky for me, computer science came up. And up until that point, I didn't actually know what computer science was. So I was 21, and it feels silly now, but I had never met anybody who had worked in tech. Working with computers was even a stretch. But I started my master's in information systems within the School of Computer Science at a school called Marist College in New York. I didn't have the fundamentals of computer science, surprise. They were blatantly lacking, and therefore my learning curve was like this. But I had learned to be very comfortable with being uncomfortable. Fun comfortable is what we used to call it in water polo. It's about figuring out how to find joy in the grind, to start to enjoy being out of your comfort zone and being faced with challenges, starting to like being faced with challenges that at the beginning you feel like, I have no idea how I'm going to pull this off, but being comfortable in that environment. And the key is trusting yourself, trusting that you, 1, you will survive, and 2, believing you will succeed, and giving yourself permission to celebrate every win as you figure it out, as you are learning. I learned a lot in my first year of studying computer science at grad school. And by come summer break, I actually had an internship lined up at Intel. So I walked onto the campus and met all of these people who had jobs that I had never heard about, that I'd never heard of, and were working on technologies that I had no idea existed. This world of opportunities started to open up. I was in tech, and I had a badge to prove it. But the reality was, while in my internship, I still wasn't very skilled, but I fought to bring value to the team by doing whatever was necessary to figure out how to execute the tasks assigned to me, and very, very quickly finding places where I could add value now. Now that's finding places where the skills that I already had, I could apply them. I tried to be consistent in delivering value to my team through the competencies I already had, and the rest of my time was spent learning so that I could grow that base and add more value. At the end of my internship, I received a full-time offer as a cloud software engineer. Oh, add value now. My style of trying to bring value now in whatever capacity I could was paying off. While also embracing being fun, comfortable, and learning and growing as much as I could to open up more value, open up more options for adding value later. So over the next 5 years, I would have the opportunity to explore different roles, building up my skills and building in responsibility. I served as a technical writer, which exposed me to lots of different projects in a short time and allowed me to kind of interview experts, grow network, and lean in, learn the ins and outs of different technologies. Then I served as a program manager for an operating system that was making daily releases, a product manager for a Linux development product, and then an engineering manager with a global cross-functional team. I loved enabling folks on my team, I loved enabling folks on my team and advocating for users benefiting from our products. But something else was going on. I was talking to developers about the pain points in their jobs. And closer to home, I was seeing it in my team that experienced developers were becoming less accessible to their peers. And having an experienced dev on your team is a godsend because they're the best help developers at any level can get. Asking for help from some other developer is the best help that you can get. By knowing the context of your problem and your code base, an experienced dev can answer questions directly, and they know how to answer questions for different levels of understanding so that answers for you make sense to you. Also, they often provide additional context that will help you level up. So this kind of help was becoming less accessible across the board, and that was a big call to action for me. My co-founder, Eduardo, and I started dreaming about the opportunity of having a virtual expert. Explain Dev's minimum viable product was born as an ongoing experiment of what features would be included in this expert. So after some pivoting, we built a browser extension that could explain a portion of somebody else's code. We made it available to folks to install, and we kept testing hypotheses for what users needed. Our experiments are structured like those that I conducted in psychology. Results rely on user data colored with interviews. One challenge was building out the capacity to explain code while keeping the context of the greater surrounding code. Now we're in a place where we can provide direct answers to our users, almost mimicking a kind of conversation where the topic is their code. We iterate on the product and build it out, and it's quite a bit like how I had been practicing on my personal journey. Being comfortable with putting just finished work out there to the world and giving value now while investing in and setting up for future success. But we're just getting started. My call to action for you is to be bold in dreaming up how are you going to change the world by working on technology that's meaningful to you. Every one of us holds some different cause close to our hearts, and seeing so many individuals here from so many different backgrounds is inspiring because each one of you is equipping yourselves with the skills to meaningfully affect the causes you care about based on your context. So it's fantastic that you are here, and I hope you can practice. I hope you can practice having fun while you reside outside of your comfort zone and are constantly learning. And I hope that you recognize that even now, you have heaps of value to offer and value that you can add to teams while you are still growing your competencies. And that's all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Laneta. I love your story from when we previously met and talked about it. What did you think, Victor, having just met Laneta? Like, what I just am so inspired by it.
Yeah, I really like the fun, comfortable, like and enjoying the joy, finding joy in the grind. I think that's a good key takeaway for me, and I really enjoyed hearing that.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, so thank you so much. We're going to hear more from you shortly. I do have a little quick link to Founders Hub that I'm just going to leave here, which Sarah will drop in the chat for you. We're going to have like a little video from Founders Hub because it's a resource that's open there for all of you. So let's check it out. Fantastic. I hope everyone's excited for Founders Hub. I only learned about it when I joined Microsoft, but it seems like a really great thing, especially if you're interested in things like innovation and the Imagine Cup and then turning that into a reality. So let's hear some more about some careers. I'm going to hand it over to Victor, who's going to be taking our careers panel today. So take it away, Victor.
Awesome. I'll first off just introduce our panelists, our wonderful panelists we have today. You've just met Laneta. I've read her bio to you. I'll just introduce Regina and Damien. Regina is currently a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, focusing on digital and application innovation. She completed a data science degree at university and got introduced to the fascinating cloud space through the Microsoft year-long internship. She is passionate about helping customers build exciting and innovating applications on the Azure platform and helping students early in careers discover their passions in the tech space. And for Damien Brady, he manages developer advocacy at Github and loves all things DevOps. Formerly a cloud advocate at Microsoft, Damien has a 20-plus year background in software engineering and consulting in a broad range of industries. Damien regularly speaks at conferences, meetups, and other events online and all around the world. So that's our panel, and we are looking forward to hearing some of their insights. There will be, feel free as the audience to submit your questions to the Menti link provided here, and we will display it on screen, and our career panels will answer it for you and share their insights with you. I'll just start us off with for each of the panelists. Tell us a bit about your journey to your current role and what your current job involves on a daily basis. Perhaps maybe Laneta, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, you've just heard 15 minutes of how I got to here, but now as a co-founder and CEO, then my day-to-day is figuring out how are we going to get more users, talking to our current users and solving their problems. And then it's about just continuing to build and iterate on the product.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that. Regina, would you like to share?
Yep, absolutely. So hi everyone. So lovely to meet you all virtually. My name is Regina. I'm based out of Sydney, Australia. So I'm currently one of the cloud solution architects with Microsoft, and I specialize in digital and app innovation. I know it is quite a fancy, catchy title, but essentially what that means is application development. So we really focus on all the services related to application development, DevOps. So a little bit about GitHub, Azure DevOps. We look after that from our side as well. So as an architect, we work with very closely with some of the technical stakeholders, so people like IT admin developers with our customers, in order to design and build very sustainable and innovative solutions and applications on the Azure platform. So I work with a lot of health customers in Australia. So all the State Department of Health, that's my focus at the moment. So I talk to different State Department of Health, understand their technical problems, business challenges, and help them put together a solution that can help them achieve their business goals. So that's what I do as an architect in a very short summary. So yeah, I'll probably pass it on to Damien.
Yeah, hi. I am Damien Brady. I'm based in Brisbane in Australia, but I travel a bit. Travel has started coming back a bit now. I have a 22-ish year background in software engineering, but for the last 10 or so years, I've been focusing much more on developer advocacy, so developer relations. I work for Github at the moment and run our developer advocacy team of 5 people scattered around the globe. We do videos, we do webinars, we do live conference talks. Right now, we are head down trying to get things ready for Keynote, for GitHub Universe in November, and some of our team is also helping with Microsoft Ignite that you might have seen coming up as well. So we're involved in a lot of those things, but day-to-day changes a lot. I could be talking to people on stage, I could be having one-on-one conversations with students or customers, or I could be recording videos or writing scripts. It's very varied. Yeah, so that's me.
Great, fantastic. Thanks to each and every one of you. We actually have a question from the audience now, and it's specifically directed to you, Regina. So it asks, just read it out. How did Regina Lin get involved in computer science?
Awesome question. So I remember when I was in my final year in high school, I wasn't really sure what kind of degree, what kind of major I wanted to go into, but I really enjoyed math and also problem solving. And that time I did also research, and I realized that a lot of universities actually introduced a fairly new major called data science, which quite aligned with my interests and also career goals. So I decided to take up a degree. So I studied a Bachelor of Science at Melbourne Uni, and I majored in data science, which offered me a very nice combination of like math, statistics, computer science, and also using analytics to solve some really creative problems, which I really enjoy that aspect. So during my degree, I also pick up a few application like object-oriented programming subjects, which I quite enjoyed as well, which is the reason why I decided after uni, I decided to move into this app space. So I've been working in the cloud and app space around 2.5 years now. I hope that answered the question.
Definitely comprehensive. I hope it does as well. We have another question. So what do you recommend students earlier on in their career to do so that they can add value to their teams? Maybe Damien, would you want to have this one first?
I was going to actually point at Laneta, seeing as she was speaking very specifically in a keynote about adding value as a junior developer. Do you want to take this, Laneta?
Yeah, sure. So as people are coming into new teams, it's about looking for that low-hanging fruit and finding things that you can jump on right away with the skills that you already have. So for me, when I was getting started, I didn't have fundamentals in computer science. So I wasn't even able to really apply technical skills, but I could create. I ended up owning our newsletter because that was something that I could nail, and I knew that this is a pain point for my team. It was our newsletter, and it was also a dashboard of metrics, and going, okay, I'm going to own this. I'm going to make sure that I can take care of this, and I'll consistently do our daily reports and get everybody on the same page. So that was something in finding a way to provide value or to take care of something that was a pain point for my team at that point.
Absolutely. Thanks, Laneta, for that. Do we have? In that case, there's perhaps one more question that I have here. What are some of the most important skills that you use throughout your work? Damien, you want to go for this?
Sure. My turn now. So some of the important skills that I use in my day-to-day work. I honestly, so Scott Hanselman mentioned this in the session earlier, that the difference between a kind of senior developer and a junior developer, or somebody late into their career versus at the beginning of their career, is often just that they've seen things before. So I think the ability to be able to search for, appropriate answers to the questions you have, and being confident enough to say, I don't know, can you explain that a little bit better, or who would I need to speak to solve this problem? I think those skills, which we traditionally kind of called soft skills, I think they're far more important, I think, than knowing the intricacies of a programming language. I certainly know when I was early in my career, I think it always felt like I needed to know the language inside and out. But really, everybody can search for stuff. You have the internet at your fingertips now, which when I was starting, I'm a bit like Scott. The first time I touched a computer, I was about 10 years old, and the internet wasn't a thing yet. So I learned things from books, which are like paper things made from trees. They're weird. So searching for the answers and figuring out who to speak to, and consolidating those answers into, solutions to real problems. I think that is where, those are skills that can definitely help you throughout your career, I think.
Thanks for that. I think I appreciate that personally as well. Someone who coming so much not from a tech background, learning to the ability to ask for tech solutions for the problems that I have. I think that's been something that still learning, but I'm finding great value in that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great answer Damien just provided. And to add on to that, I think having curiosity and a growth mindset is just really important, regardless of which field that you go into. Especially, I've run into that challenges many times. I'm inside a team where I'm relatively early in my career. A lot of other people on the team have got a lot more industry experiences compared to myself. And oftentimes I feel like, I have got like this imposter syndrome where I should be expected to know the answer, especially I talk to many customers on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of people understand that I'm still quite early in my career. I don't have as much experiences, but it is really important for me to find out the avenues for me to find out the answers and trying to provide the solution, provide the answers back to different stakeholders I'm working with.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Regina. We have one more question that has come up. Can you guys recommend an application to learn programming? How did you guys learn to program? So, directed to everyone. Perhaps, Laneta, you want to take this one? Start off. Yeah.
I can't. I was in school learning those basics, so that's a challenge for me. And then once you get out, once you're learning on the job, then it's hard because I was in school going through. So that was me. How about you, Damien?
I was just trying to find some of these resources. I feel the same as well. I learnt at school, and there was a lot less out there in terms of resources for learning to code. These days, there are actually a ton of resources for learning to write code. There's a lot of, I was trying to find some silently while I was muted, but I failed. There's some great GitHub repos that kind of walk you through how these things work. There's resources like MS Learn, although they are probably largely a bit more towards Microsoft services and so on, I think, than programming languages. But if you look for tutorials in languages like Go or Python, there's quite often resources on the internet that can just walk you through the basics of a language and how that works, and just give you the basic syntax and how these things fit together. But to really learn, as you were suggesting, doing it on the job and having real problems to solve and trying to solve them by searching and understanding the language and breaking the problems down and so on. I think that's kind of the best way to do it. If you wanted to do that and you don't actually have a job to do it, there's some great competitions that come up every now and then. We're actually in October now, so I think Hacktoberfest is a thing that's going on. So you can contribute to open source repositories and try and solve some real problems as well. That's a great way of actually getting involved. So that's one. And then there is it happens towards the end of the year, and I've forgotten the name of it, where it's a daily programming thing on the lead up to holidays and Christmas. Can you remember what it's called?
I think it's called Advent of Code or something. It's like a daily exercise.
Advent of Code. That's the one. Yeah.
And leading up to Christmas or New Year.
Yeah, so that's a good one. Do you have others, Regina?
I actually can't think of any applications or like sites on the top of my mind, but I personally prefer to learn by having like an interactive console. So I remember when I was in my first year of uni, trying to pick out a few sources to learn a bit more about programming. I look for the ones where it gives you a little challenge, and then you can prefer to write in any preferred like languages or frameworks, and then you write the code and then you submit, and it tells you whether the code you wrote, whether it passed all the test cases or not. So I find that it's like a pretty gamified experience to learn some programming and also like different concepts, different terminologies within a particular framework. But I don't remember the specific tool or application that I use for that.
Well, thanks for that. I actually learned some new tools myself. Thanks for that, Damien. Thanks for passing that link. Another question. How can students use explain.dev? Does it work in VS Code?
I'll take this one.
Yep.
Yes, it does work in VS Code. So you can go to our website, explain.dev, and then you can install VS Code. You'll sign up, so you'll give a little bit of information like your email, and then we'll send you an authentication key, and then you can use that to sign into VS Code, and you'll be away. Once you have code that you're looking at on VS Code, then you just select it and click on explain, and then we'll give you the explanation of the code you're looking at, and you can start asking questions. So yes, it's on VS Code, and head to our website.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Laneta. Another question. What kind of Microsoft certifications do you recommend for a student before jumping into the industry? If anyone would like to take that one?
I'm happy to take on this one because I think from my understanding is that Microsoft has got a few certifications, especially focused more on the fundamental side, tied into the free clouds. So we have got free clouds, which I will go into a bit more detail in the session coming up. So free clouds are Microsoft 365, Dynamics, which is like a set of business applications, and also Azure, which is our public cloud computing platform. So depends on your areas of interest, you can go into all three different directions. And within each direction, we have got a very structured learning path with certification, where you always start with fundamentals. So you can have like to look into some of the fundamental concepts and also learning path. You can search it up on our Microsoft Learn platform. So it is free, and it has got lots of resources for you if you are interested in taking the certification exam. So we have got the end-to-end learning path available on MS Learn for you to check out if you are interested in different technologies or different pathways.
Thanks for that, Regina. Hope that answers the question. Perhaps an end question, looking at the time. Oh, yeah, there you go. Sorry. In this competitive job market, what do you need to highlight to distinguish you among others?
That's a good question. I can take this if you like. I've been kind of on both ends of interviews for quite a while. I certainly know when we're looking for a junior engineer or even a senior engineer, I don't want to dwell on this topic, but it's less about, knowing the intricacies of the language and how that language works, and more about how well do they solve the problem? How willing is that person to look for help, or to say, I don't know, or could you clarify this, or something like that. So quite often interviews are less about, can you write this specific piece of code, and more about, if you can't write that code, how do you manage that problem? And I think the most striking interviewees are the people who say, I don't know the answer. Can I use, the internet to have a look to see what that is? Or, actually, I think I'm doing the wrong thing here. Hang on, let me see if I can revisit that problem. So, being open to working through solving the problem the right way, rather than, pretending that they know the answer when they don't. Or I guess interviews are a bit unrealistic, but understanding that you may not have all the answers to start off with, and that's okay, as long as you have the kind of attitude that you can find these solutions, you can work with somebody else to get the right result. So yeah, less about, I know this particular set of technologies, and more about, here's how I go about solving a problem. Those are the people who kind of stand out to me in interviews.
Thanks for that, Damien. Perhaps, just being mindful of time as well. This is a key question for us, and it's also pertinent for our students joining in. What is your top piece of advice for students at the summit today? So perhaps Regina, you can start us off, and then we can just go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my piece of advice that I would share is probably to explore different avenues, try out new opportunities, because the role I'm in right now, I had no idea this role existed when I was at uni. I was introduced to the Azure, to the cloud computing space, through an internship opportunity with Microsoft. I saw Microsoft was recruiting for interns in my second year of uni, and I really wanted to try it out, but I had no idea that a role like architect would be available to early in careers such as intern and graduates, which I was pretty excited for. So definitely tried out different opportunities, tried out a few different internships. If you get the opportunity to do a few industry placements, that would be great, because you never know where your passion lies, especially a lot of the uni projects that you do will probably be slightly different when you go into the industry. So talk to as many people as you can, try to network, expand your professional network, to see what kind of opportunities are out there in the industry that you can potentially explore, and then you'll probably have a much better understanding in terms of where you want to go into after uni.
Thanks for that, Regina. Perhaps Damien?
Okay, yeah, sure. I think that's an awesome answer, Regina, actually. The point you made that the job that you have now is not one that you thought existed. The job that I have now certainly didn't exist when I started studying. The thought of somebody who advocates for developers about developer tools was kind of a little bit too meta, like it was a little bit of a step too far. What I did through my career is I kind of focused on the things that I felt like I was good at and the things that I enjoyed. And I think that would be my piece of advice. Have a look for the different things that you find interesting and dive into them. You don't have to be interested in everything. If you can focus on the things that sustain your interest, then there is a place for you in IT. So yeah, be open to different pieces of technology, different things you hear, read up about them, and then try to focus on the things that you enjoy. The combination of what you enjoy and what you're good at is a satisfying career. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice.
That's wonderful advice, and I agree completely. So we're all different, and that's the beauty of us all being here and coming in and bringing our different backgrounds. So embrace that. You don't have to work on something that you're completely uninterested in. Find something that you enjoy and keep pursuing that. Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I'll just ditto that.
Thanks, Laneta. Well, that was our final question. I hope you found great value from getting the insights from our panelists. Thanks again to Laneta, Damien, and to Regina. So we can put that on Menti. So we'd like to hear what your key takeaway was from this career panel. You can once again use the Menti link, and we'll just have a look at some of the answers you bring in. We'd love to hear what your key takeaways were.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed all of that. Even when you're like, many years into your career, it never hurts to hear another perspective and see how it might change your path. And yeah, there's just so many options out there. And I'm looking in the Menti at the moment, just seeing everyone's key takeaways. Let's go over and see. Make sure you keep it in line with the code of conduct, everybody, please. We are a lovely community here, so keep that in mind. But we are loving everybody putting in their submissions, hearing about the insights, and understanding how to solve problems is so key. And yeah, it's amazing. Also, money is also nice. It does keep us in food and in clothes, so that's fantastic. So yeah. But good advice all around. I just like to thank our three panelists so much, and especially Laneta for giving her keynote early in the session. It's been just so fantastic to see all of these. Yes, please bask in the glory of the key takeaways that everyone has taken away from you today. So next up, we are going to learn a little bit more about how we could get innovating. So we've got coming up I forgot to mention if you are interested in a career at Microsoft, key stuff, I'm doing it. Regina's doing it. Damien was doing it. He's at Github, so he's kind of doing it still. But do check out this resource, which it's like a module on like how to prepare for an internship at Microsoft and how to prepare for the interview and how to turn that into a long-lasting career. So Ken recommend doing a module right here. Get on that, and we're going to learn about another opportunity that's coming up, especially for students, just like internships. And this is a great way, whether you want to get straight into Microsoft or you want to go your own route like Laneta and go for the innovation mindset. We've got the Imagine Cup launch right now, and let's just start by watching the video to see what it's all about, and then we'll have a chat.
Hello, my name is Pablo Veramendi, and I'm the Global Director for the Microsoft Imagine Cup. And I'm thrilled to be at the Student Summit to announce the launch of the 2023 Imagine Cup. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Imagine Cup, it is a global student developer competition where students just like you bring their world-changing ideas to life using the power of Microsoft Azure. Over the years, we've seen incredible solutions, from artificial intelligence to bionic arms, to innovative learning platforms and innovative remote health platforms. It's incredible to see what students bring every year to the competition. And at Microsoft, we truly believe that every student can be an entrepreneur, and we provide you the tools, the skills, and the platform to bring your dreams to life. All these students started out in the same place you are today, finding out about the Imagine Cup for the first time. If you were to ask them if you should participate, the answer would be a resounding yes. You know the challenges that your community faces, and you can bring solutions to that using technology. This year's competition has 4 categories: Earth, Education, Health, and Lifestyle. And it's up to you which category you want to compete in. Students 16 years or older from across the globe form teams of up to 4, and they come up with a 3-minute pitch, and they come up with a proof of concept for their Microsoft Azure solution to show to the judges to be evaluated at their national finals, regional finals, or online semifinals. And the top 3 teams move on to the World Championship. At the World Championship, those 3 teams are vying for the Imagine Cup itself, as well as $100,000 in cash and mentorship session with our chairman and CEO, Satya Nadella. I've been in that room where Satya is speaking with those students, and it's incredible to hear the advice that he has for them. It's also incredible all the supports that you get along your journey. We have mentorship, we have Azure credits for those that move on to the competition, and we're partnering with our friends at Microsoft Startups in the Founders Hub, so that you can continue your journey as an entrepreneur with them in the Founders Hub. So we're really thrilled to bring this competition to you this year. You can register today at imaginecup.com. You can follow us on social at MSFT Imagine on Twitter and at Microsoft Imagine Cup on Instagram, and see all the amazing things that students are doing using Microsoft technologies. But the supports don't end there. When you register for the competition, you get access to a whole slew of technology content. You get a training curriculum on Github where you can learn how to take your project from 0 to 1, how to come up with an idea, how to form that team, and how to bring that project to life and what technologies you should use. We also have a Discord community where you can join and ask questions to the team at Microsoft. There's mentors on that Discord. You can also find your teammates if you don't have any teammates at the moment. So it's really awesome, all the tools and all the opportunities that are afforded by participating in the Imagine Cup. And again, that chance to compete on a global stage, to be part of this incredible competition is something that you shouldn't pass up. So register today at imaginecup.com, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the Imagine Cup this year.
That was exciting. I think what was really exciting for me is I can see Victor backstage in his video and he's just smiling and he's so excited for the Imagine Cup is what I can see. So Victor, can you tell me a bit about your emotions at this time?
No, it's just, I find Pablo like super inspirational because he's the lead also of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. So we always have this little like team town hall meetings, and he always has a lot of motivation and a lot of inspiration. But yeah, partly why I'm considering joining the Imagine Cup as well. Like this is becoming my ultimate penultimate year as a student. It's something I really want to explore and see how I can be part in a solution to address a real world problem. So I'm really looking forward to taking part in the Imagine Cup.
Amazing. And I just really enjoy the Imagine Cup, like on the Microsoft side. Like I get to do things like mentoring or judging like the semi-finals, and there's just so many amazing ideas that come through. And just we've got some really cool people coming up at the end of the show. Make sure you stay around for the next like hour and a half so you can see the Imagine Cup panel. We have some like semi-finalists from our region that just made some amazing things. So hang out for that. But first, we've got your very first step into the Imagine Cup, the thing that we have entitled the Imagination Collaboration, and you're going to be partaking in that right now. But first, we're going to tell you what that is. So the activity goal for this session, we've got 20 minutes, and we're going to create an idea pitch that solves a real problem for a real user. So we're going to need to know some stuff about design thinking for that. And I'm going to get Victor to tell you all about the process we're going to use.
Yep, would love to do that. So design thinking is a tool that gives us a perspective on how to solve problems. So generally, you might be thinking you have a great tech idea, and the day and age we're in, it's very easy to come up with ideas, and especially from a tech perspective, we have access to Azure, for example, Azure Cloud Services. We have access to collaboration tools, so it says something like GitHub. There's just so many things available that makes it easy for us to ideate. But does that always solve a problem? This is where design thinking can come in handy, which you can see in our next slide. A key with design thinking is actually a focus on the user. So before we look into solving the problem, we actually look at who is facing the problem and how can we actually how can we understand them? And so empathy is a key word that's the beginning part of design thinking, and that is understanding the user's needs and goals, appreciating their difficulties, and creating solutions that they can actually use. An example on empathy is, for example, we have a solution here, and we're thinking we look at a particular group and think, we need a solution that is financially viable. So we make sure the cost of it is as low as possible. That's a great idea. But when you actually empathize with the user, maybe you talk to them, you begin to realize finances are may not be that much of a limitation. And so, yes, we need to be finance wise, but they can be a bit of a leeway. And that you realize that can actually change the solution that you have, in the sense that you don't have to be like super, super tight with the budget, because your user can actually, if they see value in it, they can adopt it. So that is an example of how empathy, or rather understanding the user, is a key part of design thinking, and is a good place to start before we actually look at problem solving. So that is the empathy side. So to see the overall workflow of the design thinking, we've just talked about empathy. So after empathizing, we then have the enough knowledge and skill to actually define a problem. So what is the problem that these current users are facing? and after which needs time as well to define the problem. And after that, then we can now ideate. Ideating is divergent, meaning it's free, it's real estate for anyone. You can come up with as many ideas as you want at this point. And then at that point, you then go on to prototyping your ideas and see how many you can actually test. And design thinking is an iterative process, meaning to say that you measure, you monitor the outcome of your solution, then you can go back. Does it really meet the problem that we set? If not, how can we ideate and iterate further? And we keep on doing that until we have a solution that is viable. That's the overall flow. But for our case today, we're only going to look at the first 3 steps. So that is empathizing, defining, and ideating. And so that's a little bit of an intro into design thinking, and we hope and the challenge is for us to apply it in our current case.
So for today's activity, we're going back to Menti, and we want you to answer 3 different questions for us. We're going to start off with what tasks, or we're going to need to talk about what user we're working with, because you need to focus on one user. You can't please everyone at once. So today we're talking about pet lovers. We'll answer 3 questions to see how we could help them with their daily tasks and difficulties using technology. But first we need to identify what the tasks are, and then we're going to work on what the difficulties are, and then what some potential solutions are in that order. So let's jump across. The Menti is now open, so you can start putting in your ideas. We have some amazing collaborative co-leads in the background. They're going to be helping us fill out the whiteboard today. So they're going to take your ideas and pop them into this whiteboard, because there's a lot of you. It probably would overwhelm the technology if we let all the couple hundred of you into the whiteboard at one time. So we've got some helpers to aggregate your ideas and bring them into the amazing whiteboard. And then we're going to discuss what's going on as we go. So yeah, start popping in your ideas. While we do that, I do want to mention that Pablo is actually in the chat, Victor. He really appreciated your compliments. So I'm just going to pop that up on the screen now.
Oh, wow.
I think that's great. But yeah, we'd love to have like the head of Imagine Cup here hanging out with us in the Asia Pacific region. So hi, Pablo, and hello, everybody else in the chat. We'd love to have you all here today. So we've got some stuff coming in about training a pet. I have 2 cats. We're currently, have you seen those videos on the social medias, Victor, where they have buttons and then the cats press the buttons and then like the buttons say different things?
Yeah, always funny to see those. Yeah, and cat developers.
Now we're back. Okay, yeah, we're just trying to do one button at the moment, which is to get a treat. And one of the cats really loves treats, but he doesn't know how he can hit the button from the side, but he can't work out how to press the button. So that's how I'm going with my pet training. It's not ideal. Have you ever had a pet, Victor?
Have I ever had a pet? Yes. Ever is the keyword there. I had a cat when I was a bit younger, but now currently I don't have one. I'm looking forward to owning a cat again. I think they're bundles of joy.
They are. They're delightful.
Yeah. So.
My cat loves to follow me around everywhere. We have 2. Me and my partner had a cat, and then we moved in together. And yeah, my cat, I got him during the pandemic because he used to live in an arcade, and then the arcade had to close down for the lockdowns. So he couldn't stay there anymore. And then through a friend of a friend, I said I'd take care of him for a couple of months. And then they never came and got him. So I've had this cat for 2 years now, but he's my baby now and he's obsessed with me. He has to, I'm surprised he's not sitting in the back of the stream right now, but he loves to go to the bathroom with me. He has to come to bed with me. He's obsessed. And he loves to join Teams meetings as well, of course. So we've got some stuff happening here.
I've seen a cat a few times.
You've seen him, the big orange and white cat. I'm sure he might, turn up to the summit at any moment. Let's have a look at what we've got on the board. So we've got cleaning up after them. That's a big deal, right? Walking the pet, especially if it's a dog. Or walking a cat. I did try and take BB for walks. He didn't really like it, so I stopped doing that. But I've also seen people walking like a bunny rabbit. So that's pretty good stuff.
interesting.
Have you ever seen an interesting animal being taken for a walk, Victor?
Bearded dragon.
Bearded dragon?
I
That's the
believe
best
so.
one.
Yes. Yeah. It was actually from our student ambassador program manager. She always tells us about her bearded dragon. So that was
I
interesting.
love it. That's so good. Well, we've got some good stuff coming on in about the tasks. Hopefully they've get inspired us for some of the problems that you might encounter. So I'm going to get everyone to move on to the next question, which is now we've got the tasks. Let's talk about the difficulties. So I'm going to pop us on over to the next question. Look at the tasks. Think about like what makes them hard. Are you forgetful? Don't forget there's lots of kinds of pets as well. So I think we've got things that like walking them and giving them treats and things, which probably apply mostly to cats and dogs. But yes, we haven't heard anything about bearded dragons yet. Coming up. And goldfish, that's very important. Got to clean those fish tanks. I had some goldfish as a kid. Me and my sister both had one goldfish. And I took care of them and I fed them and I cleaned the tank and I did all the stuff. And then my goldfish always died and hers lived for several years. So I don't know. I think I loved the fish too hard or something, even though they lived in the same tank. So I'm just not sure.
Is it true that they have like 7 seconds of memory, like retention? I don't know. I've always heard about that.
There've been some experiments on them to see if they can like remember like the light flashes and then the food comes. And I think they do actually have more than like the 3 seconds or the 7 seconds of memory. We've got people in the chat asking to show my cat. I might have to make a request to my partner to deliver the cats just on. Well, he can't hear me, so maybe no pets at the moment, but we'll find out. We'll send him a little message. He's probably off trying to not make a lot of noise, but let's see if he'll bring me a cat. Cool. Okay. Busy days. Yeah, sometimes you are busy, and it's just like, if I just imagine having a dog is a lot harder when you're really busy because they need like more direct attention, like going for walks and stuff.
That's the hindrance with getting pets as well. There's always concern you're too busy to love them.
Yeah. Hyperactivity. I can speak to that. The cats, they get the zoomies, if you're familiar with them, at like 11 o'clock at night, how they just like run around your house. Oh, we have a cat delivery. This is Artemis. She is our little baby cat. She's not a baby anymore, but she's very cute. And yeah.
Is it Artemis?
Thank you, Jack, for the cat delivery. Maybe we'll get a second cat, a more agreeable cat. What were you going to say, Victor?
I was just asking, is the name Artemis?
Artemis,
like the
yes.
Greek goddess, I think?
The Greek goddess, correct. Named for the goddess of the hunt. We bought a toy with her. And it was like a little bristly mouse on a string that you dangle around. And within 3 days, she had destroyed the toy. There were bristles everywhere. But to this day, she still plays with the little metal thing on the end of the string, and it's the best toy in the world. So who knows?
Fulfills the name.
That's the difficulty. Cleaning up after them, as we saw earlier, because, they make a mess. They like to eat cardboard boxes as well, but not eat them, just tear them apart. Or when we moved house, Phoebe, the big orange cat, likes to just take the sticky tape off the boxes. So there are boxes full of stuff that he just pulled the tape off so the bottom could easily fall out. So they're wonderful little creatures that do just the strangest of things.
Wow, sure.
Let's take a look at the board again. So we've talked about the zoomies. Friends who fear pets. Also, friends who are allergic to pets is the problem. We have a friend who loves cats, but she's very allergic, and we try and vacuum, but it just doesn't do any good. Damaged household items. Yeah, the cats, we did train them to not pull up the carpet, but it did take a little while, and we did luckily get a new couch, which they don't destroy, but the old couch was not so good looking. Have you ever had something destroyed by a pet, Victor?
Thankfully, no. Well, partly because I don't own a pet currently. But yeah, I guess that just comes with the territory. When you own a pet, you have to accept the damage part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Love to see more things coming in. Any more specific stuff would be great. Like, what is difficult about the hygiene aspect of it? Is it because your dog is just too big, or is it because your cat tries to murder you every time you try to put them in the bath? Let us know how you have been harmed psychologically by a pet during your love of this pet and ownership. Managing their emotions. That's true. They get grumpy sometimes. My pet baby, he's a big baby. He's more than 6 kilograms and he's 7 years old, but I'm pretty sure he's a baby. Well, he thinks he's a baby because he needs to be patted at 4 a.m. Because he hasn't been patted for a little bit of a time. So he just screams at me until I wake up. So it's an interesting time. We've got some good difficulties though, Victor. Do you think we're missing anything from our list?
I think this is quite comprehensive. Pet hygiene. Yeah, it's a good scope.
Excellent.
That's it.
Shall we kick it along to the next question then? We're going to ask you for any ways you could think that technology could help with any of these difficulties, or like maybe you have some aspirations, pet aspirations. Maybe it's not a difficulty. Maybe it's more about having a pet that can actually press the button to get the treat or something. But any solutions that we could use technology to build that, build a better world for your pet and that pet owner, or someone who just loves pets, maybe who doesn't have a pet potentially. So a lot of options for what we could do. Feeding automation.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. There's a few different devices out there, but there's not we actually have some automated feeders. Not that they drop food down at specific times, but they have an RFID chip that reads the cat's microchip, so it only lets the correct cat in, which is pretty interesting. But there's not a lot of options on the market. Yeah, because they can't be trusted to not eat each other's food or their medication or something. Yeah, so yeah.
I'm just wondering whether the cat also sense that I'm not being fed by a human. Is that a emotional issue as well? Just a thought.
Yeah, maybe it needs to be shaped like a human. Or you record your voice on it and you say dinner time, Fluffy, and then it would open the feeding flap or something at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pet path tracker. I wonder if this is for inside a house, just to see what they're doing during the day. That'd be kind of fun. If you've ever had one of those robot vacuum cleaners and it will tell you where they've been, it could be a lot like that.
I think you'd be surprised. Maybe the cats can they may go different places where you don't even imagine them to go because you're not there. But it'll be interesting insights to tracking that. I like the language translation on there as a solution.
Yeah, that'd be cool. They do have different meows or barks, or when the fish goes blah 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 blah. Maybe it means something, we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, that'd be super interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if that's possible. I'd love it if someone enters that for Imagine Cup, so then I can talk to my cats. That'd be really cool. Say bye-bye to Pablo, who's going to go sleep because he is over in West Coast, USA. So thank you for joining us, Pablo.
Thanks, Pablo.
And being part of our Imagine collaboration, celebration of ideas. Very cool times. Yes, good stuff about safety. I wonder what we could do for safety, because we have a balcony and I am about to tell a very sad story. But at one of our cats, she was fine. You just saw her, but she did fall off the balcony and it was not a good time at 2:00 in the morning when we heard her fall off the balcony, which we were surprisingly awake for. So yeah, what could we do using technology? Because we've just kind of had to put up fishing line around the balcony so they don't fall down, because it's a very bad time and very expensive. So yeah, what could we do? And Pablo wants to see the pet tracker solution. So yeah, let's have that. Let's see that come up. So remember what's coming up on these post-it notes, everybody. They're gold ideas. But I think we've got a few solutions there. Shall we let people? Maybe people are storing their solutions for their pitch, and they don't want to share them with everybody. So let's go and talk about what we're going to do next. So we do want you to make a pitch to how you're going to solve a problem with one of these solutions, or maybe one of your secret solutions that you haven't actually submitted yet or hasn't made it onto the board yet. So we want you to write a 2-sentence pitch. Victor's going to give you an example or two in a second. So pitch your pitch on Menti. So that is now open. And then if yours is one of our favorites, we might read it out at the end of the show, or it might even end up in a wrap-up video after the summit, like summing up some of the highlights of the event. So let's hear some exciting examples, Victor.
Yep. These are some pitches for you to get inspiration from. Read off the first one. Everyone loves pets. So why on earth would you pay someone to pet sit? Why not have them pay you? Next time you're going on holiday, match with a local pet lover to ensure your pet is pampered while you're away. As a side note, just want to mention, really like you have your solution, but then when it comes to pitching, there's always that nice language device. There's a little rolling of the alliteration for those who are linguistically interested. I always like seeing that from a pitching side of things. So yeah.
We know the way to Victor's heart is now with alliteration.
There's alliteration. I put a alliteration in this one as well. But yeah, finding a compatible companion for your canine can be tricky. There's so many different breeds with different behaviors that might not match with your furry friend. With our app Companion Pup, you can take a picture of your local dog and detect its breed to find out the key characteristics and to see if they're your dog's new BFF.
Love it.
Yeah.
Let's hear some of those pitches on Menti. And yeah, so we're at the time for our break. So I'm going to leave the whiteboard on the screen for a few more minutes while me and Victor hang out here. And yeah, we're going to submit those. We'll be looking at them throughout the rest of the session to pick up our favorite 3 for the end of the show. Let's put that whiteboard back up. And yeah, have a look at those and yeah, get inspired. But yeah, let's have our 5-minute break now. So we'll be back in 5 minutes from now. So that might be, if you're in Australia, in Sydney, that's 5:32 p.m. But that's probably not the time for most of you. So 5 minutes from now, 32 past the hour, or maybe 2 past the hour if you're in India, who's half an hour different, or South Australia. So something that ends in a 2. That's when we'll be back with the rest of the content. But me and Victor will be hanging out here talking about all kinds of things during the break. So yeah, I do like those alliterations though. They're a very good one. So try and work some of those in. Let's hear some of those. But while we wait, I do want to ask Victor about your your student ambassador and your student accelerator program journey. So how did you get involved with all of this?
Well, with the student ambassador program, I actually heard it from one of my colleagues back from Africa. Not so much, it was in Australia. So it was just it was through the Windows Insider program. I wanted to be part of they were having an Insiders to Campus event. I applied for that. Wasn't successful. But then I met him and he told me about various programs that Microsoft offers for students. One of which was the student ambassador. So at first I thought, I don't think I'm tech savvy enough to apply for this. But a few months passed. I thought, I might as well give it a go. So I had it from them, and this was in 2020. I applied for it, and I was a successful applicant. And I think since then, it's just been a really, really good journey of learning. I think if there's something I can summarize, it's just it's a learning environment and also being able to connect with other students. So I've been able to meet people from all around the world, and I always have trouble with time zones because everyone is all over the place. But yeah, I met lovely people, and I'm glad I still have couple of more years to go in the program. So yeah, it's a great time for learning. And well, with the accelerator, it's similar, sort of through the student ambassador program, but now the accelerator being more local. It's been a good, but that one it's been good because I get to be familiar with my own local, like within Australia, get to know students within Australia, and also meet various Microsoft people in Australia. So that's been good as well. I think they've really enhanced my learning as a student, even in terms of what I'm pursuing, but also just generally as picking up more skills. So it's been fantastic, I think.
Yeah, like you joined me on a stream earlier this year, and like I was like, you opened my eyes to new things. There's so many different bits of technology, and I really enjoyed your automated bot for answering questions. So maybe tell us like briefly about that actually, because I think everyone should get to know about it.
Okay, that was it was yeah, I also really like being in your stream, and that was it was for because I'm quite interested in the education space. I'm a PhD student, but I also do teaching, so I do take students, and I do see some discrepancy. I just think there's a way we can improve learning, and technology can do a part in that. So there was this I made this Q&A bot that can be able to take, for example, for a particular unit or course that the student is learning, it can be able to take questions and then from a database of either previous questions or from textbooks or content for that particular unit, it can give you an answer that is quite real time and addresses your question, and also gives a context for example, if it's further reading. If you're looking for further reading, it can also point you to a further reading area for that particular question. So I thought, rather than being able to wait for to ask your teacher, you can query this bot, and it's also available through Teams. And so a lot of universities are now switching to Teams as their learning management system. So this comes integrated, and if you can be able to have such a solution inbuilt for a particular course, I think it can improve learning significantly. Both for the teacher and also both for the student. So that's what I was trying to attempt, and I think it was really good and fun to do.
Yeah, it's so cool, and I think kind of like what Yanetta was saying is like you just want someone sitting there next to you so you can get your answer straight away to your problem. So having something rather than having to wait till you get an email back or something, that's just like keeps it in the loop, keeps it in your head. Don't lose track of where you're up to. So that's really awesome. So yeah, we do have links in the chat. So check out the Microsoft Student Accelerator. So that's like, let's say an APAC specific program where you get involved and you get essentially mentoring opportunities to give talks and upskill your peers and be part of a community, and the Student Ambassador program, which, Victor is our local gold member, our latest one, where you can progress through the different tiers by being as simply as getting started by doing a Microsoft Learn module. So apply to the program, then do a module or a course, and then give a talk or run an event, and that's how you progress through the program. And we'd love to have more ambassadors here in Australia, so please do sign up with the links in the chat. But we are at the time of 2 past the half hour or hour, wherever you are. So let us start thinking about what we're going to be doing next. But we do need to go back to a Menti question. So we're going to get you to start off this next section with an easy one. Go back to Menti, and we'll be answering what our favorite snack is. So put that in there. I'll give you a hot minute to do that. A lot of chip fans in here. Cake, bread, which is an interesting one. I'm not against the bread, but I'm going to go with the cake as my favorite. Yeah, a lot of good options in here. Who's hungry now? I hope you grabbed a snack during your break because we've got another hour and a half, and now we've just been thinking about snacks. We should have done this before the break. Okay, let's go over to our next question, which is what words come to mind when you think of the cloud? The cloud is this word that kind of gets thrown around. What does it mean? What does it mean to you, Victor, the cloud?
What it meant before was, nimbus clouds, cumulus clouds, and all that did my geography. But cloud. When I think cloud, I think I think remote servers, just keywords that are coming to mind. I think, yeah, and well, a cloud provider. I think, well, some people put AWS and Azure there. So some of the keywords, yeah, and that's something which is wasn't, like I mentioned earlier, like it's the term cloud is very an interesting one to get your hand around. Yeah.
Yeah, it can mean so many things, which is why I'm super excited for us to go to our next speaker. So I'm going to get up her little slide. I'm very excited for this talk. We're going to welcome back Regina in just a second. Here she is. She's appeared on our screen, and she's going to be telling us about what is the cloud. She needs no introduction. We already got to hear all about her amazing journey during the career panel. So I'm just going to start by handing over to Regina to tell us, what is the cloud?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee, and thanks, Victor. So awesome to be back. For those who I haven't met earlier, my name is Regina, and I am a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and I really focus on application development. So within the session I've got today, hopefully I'll be able to take you through a learning journey to unpack the idea of the cloud computing, why it has become such an important and hot topic, not just in tech, but across many different industries. So when I first started my career in the cloud space, 2.5 years ago, not gonna lie, I had no idea what cloud was all about. I remember panicking, Googling what is cloud 2 days before my job interview. So yeah, hopefully today I'll be able to demystify this complex idea, and hopefully it won't seem as scary as it looks like at the end of the session. So let's jump in. So let's start with the question, what is the cloud? So if you ask 10 different people, you probably will get 10 different answers. You probably have already heard of it. You probably have already used it. So for example, your OneDrive documents are currently sitting on the cloud. Some of the iCloud photos that you have got are stored in the cloud. And probably you watch YouTube videos. YouTube videos are also streamed via the cloud. So what exactly it is? It might seem to be quite an abstract concept, but essentially cloud, it is a type of computing where individuals and businesses can rely on a third party like Microsoft to manage their data and also computer processing via the internet. So cloud, think of it as like a platform of many different servers, and it offers a range of different computing services like storage, databases, analytics, intelligence to help drive faster innovation. So when you think of a traditional server, it can be racks of computers in an office, or it can be a laptop. A traditional server can perform functions such as storing your data, running your applications. Cloud servers actually operate very similarly compared to a traditional server, since they both deliver computer processing power, applications, and storage. But one key difference between traditional server versus cloud servers is that cloud servers can be accessed virtually anywhere, since they're accessed remotely, whereas traditional and dedicated servers, they're usually hosted on-prem. So what that means is like in a physical data center, in a business office, and they can only be accessed by users at that location. So you might be wondering, what's the point of using the cloud? Why are we making the effort of moving my applications, moving my data from my on-prem existing data center into the cloud? So there are a number of benefits. This list is quite long, so I won't go into the detail of each one here. But some of the more important benefits include costing. Costing is usually one of the key drivers for many of our clients in order to move into the cloud. So on the cloud, so we have got a model called consumption-based pricing model. So what that means is that on the cloud, you only need to pay for what you use or how much compute you need, rather than as a business, if you want to set up an on-prem data center, you need to make lots of investment upfront in order to buy those servers, set it up, plug in the power, plug in the cooling in order to keep them up and running before you can actually deploy any of your applications and data into those servers. But with the cloud, it's just single click on the portal, you select the services that you want to use, you provide the data, you provide your application, you are basically ready to go, which is really, really powerful. So another benefit of cloud server is that it offers unlimited compute capacity, whereas physical servers, there's usually a limit to their existing infrastructure or computing capacity. So there's a lot more scalability or flexibility we always talk about businesses can take advantages of by using the cloud. So what is Microsoft's cloud strategy? So there are three main clouds that we look at in the Microsoft landscape. So we have got Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Azure. So Microsoft 365 is where we bring together all the cloud-based productivity solutions. So solutions like Office, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with that. Hopefully you're using Office a lot to do your unit assignments. SharePoint or Teams as a collaboration tool. So we have got those day-to-day collaboration software to help you and me get better, get more efficient at what we are doing. So we have got Dynamics 365, which consists of a set of intelligent business applications that can help businesses of all sizes better manage their customer relationships, better manage their customer data, customer insights in order to automate some of the tedious admin processes and deliver greater results. And lastly, Azure, which is our public cloud computing platform. So Azure provides a range of different cloud services to help you build, deploy, and manage your applications across different data centers. So having free clouds is actually very powerful. You can easily share anything, build anything, leveraging Microsoft technologies. But today, let's focus on Azure. Let's talk a bit more about Azure, our public cloud platform, how it provides computing resources for you to run your applications, store your data, and do much, much more. Especially Azure is growing and expanding every single day. So and it will only get more powerful and stronger over time. So now it is really the time to look into Azure and potentially think about how you want to start your own cloud journey. So I want to show you one of my favorite diagrams here. So this is like a global map representing our expanding network of data regions around the globe. So you can see we have got a lot of different places that you can deploy your applications into. And this is where the free clouds that we touched on earlier, so Dynamics, at Microsoft 365 and Azure are currently running on. So each circle that you are looking at here represent a data region, and inside each data region contains several data centers. So within APAC, you can see we have got a few data centers in the Southeast Asia, a few in Australia. We have actually got one coming up in New Zealand pretty soon, so which is super exciting. We have got a few in Japan, Korea, China as well. So each circle represents the data region, and data region consists of several data centers. So as a business or as an individual, you have the option to deploy your application and data into a single data center, multiple data centers, and even multiple regions. So think about if you're a multinational company and you want your applications and data to be closer to be closer to your end users, you can potentially think about how you want to deploy it into multiple regions, multiple Azure data regions around the globe. So this is another pretty cool graphic. So this is very similar to the one we looked at in the previous slide, but this is from around a year ago. By that time, we have already got 54 regions around the globe. But if you look at some of the lines on this diagram here, they're actually the cables happening, like available. Some of them are underwater in order to connect the different data regions and data centers together. So this is where the free clouds are running on. Even Xbox Cloud is currently living through, which is really cool. And any Azure applications made will be running and connected throughout the world on our very expensive network. So let's now take a closer look into our data centers. So what do our data centers look like? So this is what a typical data center would look like. So you will probably imagine that we have got racks of computers being stacked on each other with some lighting, with some cooling and electricity being available in the room in order to keep them running. So this is what we call as like infrastructure and also maintenance costs. But we are actually doing that slightly different. So let's now take a close look into one of our data centers in Chicago. So this does not look like a traditional data center. It has got like a concrete floor, it has got a metal roof, and also a lot of shipping containers. So each shipping container has up to 100 servers, and manufacturers will place the servers inside the shipping container and drop it on site. So what we do, Microsoft, is that we plug in the power, we plug in the cooling and networking, and we are basically ready to go. So if a server fails, we will redirect the traffic onto another server. And then if a certain percentage of the servers fail, we'll actually get rid of the shipping container and then get a new one, which is super cool. And the way we operate is that we do not use very expensive hardware. We use very smart software, the Azure Fabric layer, and we use commodity hardware and very smart software, which means that the cost is actually reduced significantly. We can roll out new services faster, as it is a lot more faster to deploy new software rather than configure expensive hardware. And this is actually one of the very cool projects Microsoft experimented earlier, which is the underwater data center. So the inspiration came from the idea that half of the world's population actually live within 120 miles away from the coastline. So by putting data centers underwater near coastal cities, data will have a shorter distance to travel, which means that faster and smoother web surfing, video streaming, and also game playing. And also, if you think about some of the previous data centers we have seen, what are some of the problems? So things like land would be pretty expensive. Cooling is also expensive. So by putting it underwater, it actually doesn't require as much power, electricity to cool off, which is actually pretty damn cool. And it has already been proved to be a pretty practical solution, and it is reliable and use energy in a very sustainable way. So speaking of sustainability, so data centers do consume a very high level of energy, but sustainability has been always been a key to our company mission, and it is always our goal to achieve carbon negative by 2030. So what that means is that for all the carbon that has been released in the past, has been around, we're actually planning to make it up for the greenhouse gases in the past. So going back to the previous underwater data center, we are actually actively monitoring the environmental changes around the data centers, which is actually pretty positive. It is improving. So we are seeing a lot more reefs being grown around the data center. We are seeing a lot more fishes. So it is actually making a pretty positive impact on our environment. So back to Azure. So a lot of the global companies, over 90% of the Fortune 500 companies around the globe are using Microsoft Cloud in order to run their most business critical applications and to deliver the best user experience to their end consumers. So a lot of companies you might be familiar with like Walmart, EY, Toyota, BMW. So we have got a lot of different customers across all industries are picking up cloud and really trying to put some of the applications data onto the cloud in order to solve some of the existing technical challenges. One of the really cool places that I will encourage you to check out is called Azure Charts. So you can see it's you probably wouldn't be able to see the specific service and name. It is a bit small in here, but I thought it might be a good idea to just chuck in like a diagram to illustrate all the different services we have got on Azure. So we actually have got a pretty massive platform. So this is like the list of services available on Azure. On Azure Charts, you can see it is broken down into a few different categories. So we have got like AI plus machine learning. We have got analytics, compute, blockchain, which is really cool. We even have got quantum computing on Azure as well. IoT, mixed reality, storage, networking, etc., etc. So it is a really massive platform with heaps of different services with very powerful capabilities offered to you to innovate and build anything. So, for example, just under analytics, I think we have got more than 10 services just to help with our customers with different needs. We have got services to support customers with all different sort of requirements. And this place actually acts as a pretty useful tool if you have got some very specific requirements but not sure which services that you wanted to use. So this chart can be used as like a place for you to find out a bit more information about different services and how with your decision making. So today I am not going to go into much data into specific services, but I'm going to pick two to talk about their capabilities on cloud, which is AI and also IoT, which are the two areas I find pretty exciting. So starting with AI, I'm sure AI has been, it's probably not a new concept to many of you. AI has been extensively applied in many different scenarios in our day-to-day. So AI, what is definition? AI is defined as like systems which can change behaviors without explicitly programmed based on some of the data collected, usage analysis, and also other observations. So it is really designed in a way to allow computers to replicate and exceed human qualities such as like hearing, seeing, reasoning, and learning. So AI is not just a single technology. Rather, it is more like an umbrella term that can encompasses multiple technologies such as machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, natural language processing, that individual or in combination can add intelligence to applications. So one of my favorite projects is called Microsoft Seeing AI. So it is a really cool application which has been leveraging AI to drive innovative and also impactful applications. So you can search this up on YouTube. I think we have got a pretty cool demo in terms of like the use cases, and also it has actually been narrated by the developer who's actually visually impaired. So imagine if you are visually impaired and you want to do simple tasks such as you go into a restaurant, you want to understand whether there's like an empty seat to sit down, you want to understand the menu at the restaurant, you want to understand the facial expressions of someone that you are speaking to. The process of getting this information is actually not so straightforward. So this developer, he invented a project or an application called Seeing AI, which uses computer vision, natural language processing, and then embedded that application into the glasses he's wearing here in order to describe a person's surroundings, in order to read text, to understand people's emotions and also identify their faces. So this is powered by a lot of our powerful AI computing services on Azure, based on like machine learning, based on artificial intelligence, computer vision, in order to do those very intelligent things. So when we take a closer look into the Azure AI portfolio, we have got a suite of AI services that are built on Azure and deeply integrated with our Azure data, app development, compute services, and tools. So we can start with the first section, which is Azure Applied AI Services. So we have got a few different services. We have got Azure Bot Service, which is built on our Azure Bot Framework, which is like an open source bot framework. So within like half an hour, you can build a bot without writing any code, and the bot is smart enough to be able to respond to hundreds and even thousands of questions, and it can be easily integrated into any applications, any tools that you use on a day-to-day basis. We have got Azure Search, which is the only cloud app search service built with built-in AI capabilities, and it can facilitate the creation of knowledge mining applications. We have got Form Recognizer, which has been a really intelligent application to design in a way to work with specific types of documents. So imagine if you are an organization or you are a business with a lot of like paperwork, with a lot of paper forms you need to collect data from. Form Recognizer can be your best friend and automate that process in order to identify the key and also value pairs from some of the forms, and in order to automate that data collection task and then send them through into an Azure database. We have got Video Indexer, which is used to extract in-depth metadata from video and audio content, which is really cool. Azure Cognitive Services is where we provide a lot of customizable machine learning models. So we have got 30 models customizable across vision, speech, language, and decision making. So one of my favorite one is vision. I tried that earlier. So I think by providing some of the photos, so I trying to build like an object detection model in order to differentiate different types of fruit. So by uploading 10 images of an orange, 10 images of an apple, 10 images of a banana, it is able to build a model for me. I didn't have to write any code, but the model is actually very accurate, very intelligent in the way that it's able to differentiate oranges from apples, apples from banana, which is actually really fun. And with the student credit that you get access to as part of the Azure Student Pack, you actually try out the services for free, and you can build up a pretty cool object detection model within, I think, within like minutes. You don't even have to wait for like an hour. It is super fast, super easy to use, super easy to spin up. And we have got Azure Machine Learning, so which provides developers, data scientists, and also a lot more others to build, train, and deploy models. So it enables developers of all skills levels. You don't have to have a lot of like machine learning model building experiences in order to get started. So we provide like a codeless experience to drag and drop in order to really automate that machine learning experience for all developers. So moving on, one of my another very favorite thing is IoT on Azure. So IoT is defined as the interconnectivity between a physical device and a sensor with internet connectivity. So IoT usually pulls metadata from the devices to be used for deeper analytics. So things like smartphones, coffee machines, vehicles, and even measurement tools, they can all be IoT devices. And there are usually four things we usually look at when we're trying to understand IoT. So So the first one is things, which is like the physical objects, the physical assets. Insights, which is the thing that generate intelligent analytics and data to relay. Actions, the insights to allow us to make better decisions, and also network, which is like the invisible platform which powers the insights. So one of the really cool projects which happened in Australia earlier is to use microclimate data collected from sensors on an oyster farm and combine that with predictive modeling in order to help growers improve their yield and reduce the risk. So little variations happening in the climate can actually have significant impacts on oysters. So for example, if you're based in Sydney, you probably have already seen how bad the rain has been around lately. So if we are having such heavy rains, the rain can actually have the farms to be closed, the oyster farms to be closed, because the rain will impact the water quality, and you don't know how the water quality has impacted the oysters. And you don't know if the closure will last for days or even last for weeks, which is the very last thing the regulators or the farmers wanted to happen. So what Microsoft helped this customer build is like an IoT solution that can collect some of the environmental data, weather data, in order to combine that with machine learning in order to provide better insights, better predictive data for the farmers to enable faster decisions. So we have actually achieved some pretty good outcomes at the end of this, like productionizing the solution, which is like helping the farmers decrease the cost and also increase the efficiency with oyster harvesting, which is really cool. You can also look it up on YouTube as well. I think we have got a pretty cool video on that. So very similarly, on Azure, we have got different services. We have got IoT Central, which is like more of a managed service. If you want to get started with IoT with very minimal IoT experiences, we have got IoT Suite. If you want to have more control over your IoT solutions, we have also got IoT Edge, which allows some on-prem processing on the server or on the sensor itself, in order to reduce the cost of calculation after you send some of the data into the cloud. So yeah, the very last one that I want to bring up is that if you want to try out Azure today, hopefully I've got some pretty exciting services that I touched on earlier that can help you excite you and wanted to start your journey with Azure. You can actually sign up for Azure for Students. You can look it up, Google it, and it will hopefully provide you the link in order to activate some of the free credit associated with your student account. And for some of the AI services that I touched on earlier, like cognitive services, I believe that if you sign in using a student account, you'll be able to get free access to it, and you can also try it out with heaps of different learning tutorials, learning like demos available in our documentation. So yeah, that's all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the session. I might quickly pass it back to Renee.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Regina. Like, we've loved having you on the career panel and for this session. And she's been helping out backstage, so you can actually chat to her in like the Twitter chat if you want to chat more to Regina and learn about her job. But yeah, what a fantastic talk. And I know it's like very illuminating to me. We did have one question that I don't know if it was answered in the chat, but I am interested. Are the underwater servers like helping the fish? Is that like there is more like fish wildlife because of the servers, or could they harm the fish in any way?
I don't think it will be able to harm the fish. I think it's because like we're putting the data center in underwater, and then we don't really go in as much. We don't provide as much like electricity, cooling. It's just like a lot less damage is happening to the environment, which means that we are having a lot more reefs growing around the data center, and then a lot of fishes will be keen to actually live around the data centers as well, which is really cool.
Love it. They're migrating to the data center to live amongst the technology. That's awesome. I think we do have an offer that Victor wants to tell you about.
Yep, and I think it follows on. Thanks, Regina. I really enjoyed that. I think seeing all the cloud services on offer, and also that we can take advantage of students, that's just something that's very good at the student level. And speaking on that, if you want to follow that up further, Microsoft have certifications which currently are free. And normally, when you wanted to do the certification, you'd have to sit a test. For example, for the fundamentals one, and typically it cost a significant amount of money to pay to take the test. But a couple of months ago, Microsoft made it formally free for students, so you didn't have to pay for the practice tests and for the exams. And so whether it's there's various courses which you can take to acquaint yourselves with cloud computing and other things. So we have Azure Fundamentals, which covers this. We have Power Platform Fundamentals as well. We have AI Fundamentals, and I think we have one on data as well. And these are courses which you can take for free to help you upskill and be more knowledgeable, and also help you as you're looking towards when you finish your studies and progressing towards a career. These are good skills to have, and so take advantage of it while you're still a student, and especially since it has been made free for all of us to utilize. So there's the link for you to follow.
Amazing. Thank you, Victor. Like, get on it. Like, they cost like $200 or something to do. So do it while you're a student, and then chuck it on your resume, and then get yourself a sweet job out of that, and like learn some cool stuff along the way. So absolutely get on that. Now, yeah, we're going to pass it over to another student. We're going to hand it over to Yuval Kansal, who is a third-year computer engineering student at UNSW. Ever since being introduced to coding in high school, he has been interested in learning about the field of computer science and software development. He thrives in a technical environment and loves problem solving. Throughout his university, he has been an active part of student societies and has been in charge of organizing multiple events for students across the Faculty of Engineering. He has also done various research and industry internships in the past, which has helped him develop key skills. And he's going to help you get started with GitHub, an essential skill for software engineers all over, and just really useful for really anybody. So we're going to hand it over to Yuval, and yeah, let him take it away on the start of your journey. You can ask questions in the YouTube or Twitch chat, and we have amazing people. Japlet is in the chat with our other helpers, and Regina will be in the Twitch chat to help you out. Take it away, Yuval.
Thanks a lot, Renee, for that wonderful introduction. So as Renee already mentioned, I'm currently a student, just like most of you, and I'll be sort of presenting you the introduction to GitHub. And if you've heard about GitHub, amazing. If you haven't, no worries. I'll tell you all about it. It's a very cool tool, which is very important in the industry. And while you've had some awesome sessions, let's sort of dive a little bit into the hands-on workshop and ultimately build a resume, which would be the second part of this workshop. Okay, anyways, so let's get into it. So for this workshop, you will need just a GitHub account. And if you don't have it already, I would recommend getting one. It is fairly easy. So if you just navigate to the github.com website, and then you can just sign in using your email. I would recommend doing that while I'm talking and while I give a little bit of like a theoretical background to what GitHub is, so that you can follow along, and then it would be sort of, it's a mandatory component for you to be able to follow along for this workshop and the next workshop as well. Okay, so again, just to sort of reiterate, please register on the github.com website if you haven't already, so that you can follow along. But while people are doing that, let's jump into the workshop. So after this workshop, what you'll know, apart from what Git and GitHub is, like after you're familiar with the terminology, you'll be creating something which we call a repository on GitHub, and we'll name it My Resume. And then you'll be opening that repository using github.dev, which is a web-based cool tool developed by Microsoft. So it doesn't require you to set up anything locally. You can do everything on your browser. Then we'll be sort of creating a boilerplate, which would be creating 3 new files, which would be used for the subsequent workshop. And then we'll be creating those files and then ultimately pushing them onto the repository, which will be hosted on GitHub. Okay. So this will be the agenda. I will be giving you, and I will be walking you through what GitHub is. You'll learn how to work in github.dev. Then I will do a very brief summary, and if we have time at the end, then we can also do questions. Okay, so what is GitHub? Well, I like to explain GitHub with a very cool analogy that almost everyone will be familiar with. So GitHub is nothing but a cloud software which is capable of hosting Git repositories. Okay, so think of GitHub as, well, a fancy Google Drive or OneDrive, which is capable of hosting Git repositories. Now, what is a Git repository? So in any industrial setting, you obviously collaborate with other people and you write a lot of code, or you sort of just be a part of the software management team. And then it is a very good collaboration tool, which helps you manage what all you've done. It helps you to share code with everyone else. And then not only that, so you can just store files on, for example, OneDrive as well, right? But how is GitHub then different from other cloud sort of storage services? It is different that it keeps which is why we call Git a version control system. And what that means is that it sort of contains a timestamp and a stamp of every change that you've made. So for example, if over the course of writing software, you've made 10 changes or even 100 changes, for example, in a big software, it'll keep track of every one of those changes. It'll say what changes were made at what time by who, so that it's very easy to refer to them later on. Okay, and then this is something which you'll be hearing across the workshop a lot, which is called the GitHub flow. So you can think of that as the flow on how things happen on GitHub. Okay, so the way to understand it is in terms of, as the diagram shows, you've got something called as the main branch, and we'll talk a little bit about branches in detail in a moment. But then think of that as sort of like a main trunk of a tree out of which everything branches off. So if I talk in terms of software, the main trunk or the main branch would be something that is pushed to the consumers, that contains the code which the people or the users like yourself or like myself use. And then branches of that tree would be something that is hidden to the consumers, but it's very it's relevant to the developers, right? Because obviously, when you work in a software, when you talk about, for example, software like MS Teams, Microsoft Teams, even though updates are being constantly made in the background by software engineers, nothing on the user's end breaks. You just get updates, which you can then install to get new features. So this is how, so the backend part of that is something like this, that there's a master branch, like the main trunk, which is being pushed to you. Then the developers work on sort of like the branched off code from that. And then once we are sure that the code works, once the developers are sure that the code works, they sort of integrate that into the main branch, and that is then pushed out as an update. Okay. Now, I know that I've talked a lot about some terminology such as branches, Git, GitHub, blah, blah, blah. Again, as promised, I am coming back to them just to sort of offer a bit more clarity to you. So Git is essentially the technology. It is a version control system which underlies how your files are managed, and then it keeps a track of everything. And then GitHub is one hosting cloud software which stores and manages Git repositories. Okay, so Git is sort of like a technology, and then GitHub is a software which is built to be able to use that technology. There's other technologies out there in the market which also do Git version, which also host Git repositories. But GitHub is one of the most popular and most widely used in the world. Yeah, so as I said, you can do a bunch of stuff on the right here on this side, which is like issues, discussions, blah, blah, blah. All of this can be done on GitHub. And then Git is a software which can be installed on your laptop. It handles version control, and it supports branching as well. Cool. And then what are branches? I've been talking about branches a lot, and I've sort of already given you an analogy, for example, of a tree where the main branch is a tree trunk, and then everything else sort of branches off. And just as the English meaning of the word suggests, branches are quite literally sort of a variation or like a branch off that you take from the main trunk. And then that is required or for developers to be able to experiment, code new features while they're in like the experimentation stage before it's merged back here into the master and pushed out to the users. It is completely fine if you do not understand these terms as of now, such as committing, pull request. I will be talking about commits a little bit. I might also talk a little bit about pull requests, but feel free to research them in your own time as well. Okay, so let's talk about commits. So getting back to our analogy of a cloud software such as OneDrive or Google Drive for that matter, you know how if you have something on your laptop, you push those files to the cloud? And then a commit is essentially just creating a file and then committing it to the repository. A repository is nothing but a folder on GitHub. Think of it like that. So a repository is a folder, a warehouse, and then whenever you sort of add a new file to it, you are committing a file to that folder on cloud. And then don't worry too much about this. This is just, as I said, like this is a very good example of the version control. And what this is doing is that, okay, so it's tracking whatever changes or whatever new files or whatever modified files were added to our repository on cloud. So it's saying, okay, this commit was made 2 days ago from this folder. This file was pushed 2 days ago as well. And then this was pushed on this date. And it sort of assigns like a unique identifier to every such commit, which is, again, used for tracking purposes. Anyways, so again, just to sort of consolidate whatever I've said, we talked about Git, we've talked about GitHub, we've talked about what a repository is, we've talked about what a commit is, and then I've sort of given you the analogy of both sort of storage softwares existing right now, and then also a trunk or like a tree for branch purposes. So as mentioned at the start of my workshop, I am assuming that all of you have set up your GitHub account already. And if not, I would give you maybe 10, 15 seconds to do it. We really don't have a lot of time to wait. But once you've signed in, this is what your screen should look like. So you should be on github.com. And then this is sort of like my profile. This is my username, and I've signed using my username. So hopefully everyone's done that already. Cool. Okay, so now let's jump into the workshop. As promised, what we'll be doing in the workshop is we'll be creating a new folder, a new repository on our GitHub account, and we'll be adding some files to it, which would then be used for very cool stuff in the subsequent workshop. So what is the first step? The first step is creating the new repository. And now there's multiple ways to do it. You can see a new button here to create a new repository. You can directly do it here, or you can also go to the top right option here, click on your icon, your username, and click on your repositories, and then you can create one. An easier way is to just click on new here. So let's do that. And I really sort of urge you guys to follow along, okay? Click on new, and then this would take you to a new repository site. And then you say, okay, I'm the owner. I am going to name this as my resume. So this is what the name of our repository is going to be. We will keep it as a public repository because we'll ultimately be creating a resume, and obviously resume is something that you want others to look at. So public just means that anyone on the internet can browse, go to your link and look at it. Do tick this message, add a README file. There's some sort of pedantics involved in why this is needed, but I won't get into them and you don't have to worry about it. But do check this tick box. So this sort of creates, so when you've created like a repository, which is a folder, it automatically adds a file to it, which is a README file. Okay, once you've written the name, once you've checked this box, then click on create repository, and then just wait for magic to happen where it just creates a folder on your GitHub account. And you would automatically migrate to this website. So now I am in this folder in my account on GitHub. Cool. Now, what you have to do is that we need to open GitHub dev. As I said before, to make changes, to add files, you don't need to do anything like sort of locally. You don't need to install anything locally. You can just do everything in the browser by the GitHub tools that we've developed here at Microsoft. And the way to do it is, one's a very simple, cool way, and the second is sort of like, it's also a cool way, but it's easy to understand as well. So we're going to go, so right now we're on github.com. We're going to navigate to github.dev. Now there's two ways to do it. The first way is that you press the dot button on your keyboard. So you don't have to do anything once you get on this site, just press the dot button on your keyboard. And I will do that in a moment. The second way is to navigate to the URL and replace the .com with .dev, like this. So once you do this, so either you press the dot button on your keyboard, or you navigate to the URL, change the .com to .dev. And then once you've done that, press enter, and then something is happening. what is happening is that GitHub is basically creating a coding environment for you for that repository right in your browser. As you can see, this is a very popular text editor called VS Code. Some of you might have already used it. If not, this is a fancy Microsoft Word, which is used for writing code and is very helpful. And then this readme.md file is something that we created when we created the repository. Remember checking that box? So that is what this is. And now we're going to create 3 files. And then these are the 3 files that we're going to create. Okay, so let's go through them one by one. So if you navigate to this left-hand pane, you can see that there's this option which is called New File. So the leftmost option in this panel. And then what that would do is, if you click on that, it'll create a new file. So the first file that we have to create is called index.html. So you just type the name of that file, and then you press Enter. Okay, that's it. And it's created a new file for you in your folder. Similarly, we'll be creating the second file, which we're going to call style.css. So style.css. That's the second file. Type the name, press Enter, and it's created the second file. The third file, again, this is something that we're going to call code swing. So CODE code swing swing.json. Okay, don't worry about if you don't know what JSON is, or if the name doesn't make sense, it will in the subsequent workshop. You do this, you enter code swing.json, you press Enter. And voila, what you have now is 3 files. Okay, now this is not it. What is different? So the thing that is different here is that, or what we've done until now, is that we've created a folder, a repository on the cloud, and we've temporarily added 3 files to that folder. But this won't reflect on your cloud yet. Think of that as, for example, having like a OneDrive folder online or a Google Drive folder online, and then you have to ultimately push those files that you created locally to the cloud, right? And this is what we're going to do. So you see, like here, which is like a pop-up sort of notification thing which says 3, like a banner notification here. So this is a very powerful feature. It's like VS Code. So this editor is inbuilt with Git in it. So Git is installed here. So what this is doing is basically tracking your files already. So it's saying, okay, I've detected some 3 pending changes, as you can see like on the screen, that we've detected 3 pending changes in this repository. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on this. And then, as you might recognize, this sort of looks like your main branch and a branch of. So it symbolizes the Git built into VS Code. So you click on this, and then now it's telling you what changes you've made. So it's saying, okay, you've added, so this capital A in green stands for added. It's saying you've added these 3 files. And these are the 3 new changes that weren't there before. And I'm sort of tracking them, and I know that these are changes you've made. Cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to write something called as, now we're going to commit those files, right? Remember, we've talked about commit. So now we're going to commit these files to the remote or to the cloud repository. And then in software development, what we do is, because there's multiple people working on the same software, we add something called as a commit message whenever we make a commit. Why is that important? There's multiple reasons, but a quick one is that because multiple people are working on the software, you want to add like some meaningful, very short description to it. For example, if someone comes and looks at your code, or someone looks at your commit history, then they know what you did and they can get an idea. Okay, so it's a very good software practice, and you should definitely do it. Your commit messages should be brief, succinct, and very descriptive what you've done. So, for example, here we've added 3 files to create my resume. You can change it to added initial 3 files or something like that. This commit message can be anything. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. It doesn't matter if you type something else, but make sure it's descriptive. So now we've typed the commit message. Now let's go ahead and commit it. So there's 2 ways to commit it. You can directly just press, so while you're in this text box, after you've typed your message, you can just click on Control plus Enter. Or you can also click on this tick option at the top. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit more. you can either look at this message, press Control plus Enter on your keyboard, or Command plus Enter if you're working on a Mac, or just click on this tick option which says Commit and Push. So let us quickly do that. Let me click on the tick option. Okay, and what has been done now is that the changes panel has vanished. It's now saying there's 0 changes. And what's essentially happened is that now we've synced the changes that we made locally, and we've ultimately made those changes in the cloud as well. So Git is saying, okay, now I don't detect any sort of discrepancy between your local file structure and the cloud structure. Everything's in sync and everything's working fine. Very good. What did this actually do? We can navigate back to GitHub to see what it did. So if in the URL you change the .dev to .com again to navigate to like the github.com website, this will show, and this will take you back to your resume folder. And now you can see before we only had one file, and now we've got these 3 new files that we just made: codeswing.json, index.html, style.css. And it's saying that, okay, these files were pushed about 39 seconds ago. And this is where you see the commit message. Okay, cool. So this was all of the workshop. I'd recommend navigating back to github.dev because that'll be required for your next workshop. But once that is happening, let's go back to the presentation. That was the workshop. If you have any questions, feel free to ask because it's going to be very important for the next workshop as well. So what did we do? We've talked about some key features of GitHub. We've talked about how you can use the capabilities of GitHub and Git in the browser using github.dev. We've talked about commits, and we've also talked about branches and why that is important in any real software. So that was essentially my time for the workshop, and I hope you guys followed along. If not, feel free to ask questions, and some amazing people will answer you and help you get up to speed. If you want to learn more about this, there's tons of resources online. Some of them are Microsoft managed, some of them are independent. GitHub is a very important tool and very standard tool across by millions of people. Just follow all of this, and if you are keen to learn more, then just research or ask us. And then feel free to connect with me on social media as well. I've got my social media handle on my name in the meeting, and that is it. I have another slide which I am calling questions, but I'm assuming that all of you are already asking. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the workshop, and hopefully you learn something from it. Thanks. Renee or Victor, back to you.
Thanks for that, Yuval. That was insightful for entry level to version control and GitHub and pushing things to GitHub. As an MLSA Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, that's one of the things we are encouraged for us to learn is how to set up GitHub, because a lot of our activities happen through that. So I think it's a beneficial skill for us. Thanks for sharing that. We'll move on to our next speaker, who would be Julia Muiruri. And so we'll be looking at how deploying that. So you've seen that we can able to put a resume onto GitHub, and now Julia will show us how to deploy the resume publicly through Azure Static Web Apps. Julia is an academic cloud advocate at Microsoft based out of Nairobi, Kenya. She is focused on helping both students and educators across the globe with the adoption of different Microsoft products and services. And she talks about Power Platform, Fusion Development, DevTools, which include VS Code, GitHub, and plus DevOps, and the cloud, which is Microsoft Azure. So without further ado, I'll just pass this now to Julia.
Thank you so much, Victor. So hi, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Julia Muiruri. I'm an academic cloud advocate here at Microsoft based out of Kenya, and I'm super excited to be with you today during our second workshop. So in the next 30 minutes, we're going to launch a resume website to the cloud using GitHub and Azure, and we're going to pick up from exactly where Yuval has left us off. So just before we get started, just follow with me. I am a student, and I can't help but think of how competitive the tech space currently is. So I'm trying to think of a way that I could stand out and have recruiters identify me in the midst of a large crowd. So today, if anyone asks you for your resume, most ideally, you're going to share a Word document or a PDF file, but I want to do something slightly different. So I'm going to share a link with a recruiter or a potential employer just to ask them to just check out my resume. And that is exactly what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes. And let's get right into it. So our demo is going to consist of 2 parts. So we're going to have the first part being creating a resume website on GitHub. So there's a link that has been shared on the chat. So kindly just follow along with the steps that we're going to take. So if you click on this link, or you can navigate to aka.ms/launch resume to the cloud. So once you click on that, it's going to direct you to this page. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So it's going to direct you to this page on the right. So it's just a series of the steps that you're going to follow for this workshop. So in case you get stuck at any point, you can find the instructions there. And so as I said, we're going to pick up from exactly where Yuval left. So you can see I already have my repository called my resume. And so I'm just going to go ahead and open github.dev because we want to now edit this project, add in our resume details, and then be able to launch this to the cloud. So I'm just going to go to the very top URL, just as Yuval showed us. I'm going to switch from github.com to github.dev. And I'm just going to do that, and instantly you'll see that this action is going to power up an editor on my browser. That means I don't have to edit anything on my local computer. I don't have to install any software. All this is already configured for me on the cloud. So that's pretty sweet for me. So I'm just going to go ahead, and you will see the 3 files that we just added from the previous session. So what we're going to do, the first thing is that we want to add the details of our resume. So I have my name, my current role, education information, and I want to share that with any recruiter, right? So I'm going to go back to the link that was just shared with you. And at step 4, you're going to see that we're now going to open the index.html file, which I already have open on the left. And then you'll see that we have some HTML code that is responsible for the content that is going to be visible on the resume itself. So I've already added some code that you can use. So you can go ahead and expand that collapsed section on the page. So you will see that we have some HTML code here, which ideally is just, the head section, the name that goes at the very top of the page. Then we have the header that consists of your name and your role. So we'll definitely see more about this. So in the meantime, just copy this code, and then you can paste it in the index.html file. So just go ahead and paste that. So you can see that this is the information that is currently on that HTML page. So I'm just going to save my file, and I'm going to now open the style.css. So right now, what we have is a very plain HTML page, which really is not very beautiful, and we want to add some styling to it. We want to ensure that the layout is presentable, that the information is actually in a very presentable manner. So at step 5, I'm going to expand this collapsed region with a CSS code that is going to just simply format the layout of our site. Now, I'm going to also copy this piece of code, and I will add it to my style.css file on my very left. So I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to save. So hopefully you're able to follow along. So far what we've done, we've opened the repository on GitHub using github.dev. So we really don't have to do anything on our local computer. We've added the HTML code that is responsible for the content that is going to be there on our resume. And then we've added some CSS code just to change like the font that we're going to use, the font size, the margin, and the padding, just to ensure that we have a nice looking resume to share with our recruiters and hopefully get invites to interviews. So the third file that we have is the codeswing.json file. So I'm also going to open it, and right now you might not really understand why do we have this extra file. So for now, let's just copy the code that we have at step 6. So this code is actually just very simple, and you'll see exactly what it's going to do in the next few minutes. So I'll go ahead, copy that code in. I'm going to paste it in our codeswing.json file. I just format it to look a bit better. I'm going to save my file. And so right now I have added code to the 3 files that we earlier created. So right now we're just imagining a resume page. So we don't really know how this page looks like, and we want to see how this page looks like, right? So I'm now going to going to minimize this, and I'm going to maximize our github.dev. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Yep, hope that's visible. So now having all the 3 files, what we're going to do is that we now want to visualize our page. How does this really look like? And once we deploy to the cloud, how will my resume look like? So we are going to need some help from something we call the CodeSwing extension. But what is an extension, right? So an extension, think of it as a plugin that allows you to add more functionality to your editor. So in this case, we can only see the code in raw form, but now we want to see the output, right? So I'm just going to navigate to this extensions icon at the very left of our editor. I'm going to click on extensions, and then I'm going to search at the very top where we have a search bar. I'm going to type in CodeSwing. And you're going to see that we have a CodeSwing extension available. So I'll go ahead and click on it. And you can see we have an option to install. So this will just provide us with that interactive coding playground so that we can see the changes as we make in real time. So I will go ahead and install the CodeSwing extension. And once that installs, it's going to take a few seconds. So it's going to install. And once that installs, you'll actually now start to see some changes on your code. So just going to zoom out a little bit. I'll close this, and instantly you'll see that there's some activity going on your browser. So what happened is that we had configured the CodeSwing file. So the CodeSwing file actually just took the content that we have, applying the styling that is on the CSS file, and now we are able to see exactly how our resume is going to look once we deploy it. So for now, I'm going to give everyone a minute or two to just add in your resume details. So just add your name. So for instance, you can have your name go here. So just take this time to edit the HTML file. So you don't have to make any edits on the style.css file, but you can do that later if you want to alter, the fonts that we're using, the font size. But for now in this workshop, just use it as it is. So you'll just add in your details. So, and you'll be able to see the real-time effects on the CodeSwing that has just been opened. So if I just add my name here, you should be able to see that reflect in real time. So I'll just add Yuval Muiruri, and I am an academic cloud advocate. At Microsoft. So at this time, just add in some details about yourself. You can add in your name, you can add in your role if you have a role. You can add in some contact information. So remember to edit both fields, so both the field within the quotes, and also edit the text that is going to be displayed on the page. So just take the next few seconds to do that. You don't really have to complete the whole resume because you'll have this later on and you can make the updates on your own. So I'm just going to cheat for a minute because I already have that code ready for me. I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in my HTML file. So you'll see that instantly that adds my resume details, and I'm beginning to be happy because now it's possible for me to share this with recruiters and be able to stand out from the crowd. So I'm just going to pause for a few more seconds and allow you to add in some details. Don't worry if you don't finish this during this workshop, but you can always revisit it later and make updates to your resume. All right, so having added your information, that's good for a start, that will work. So just as Yuval explained, we are now going to commit these changes. So we're going to say that we want to stage the changes we've made. So ideally, we've just added the code, we've edited our file. And so I'm just going to say, I added my resume details. So that's enough for me, and I'm going to commit this. Now, once I do that, I will go back to github.com and we'll be able to see that the files that we have edited are now live on github.com. So you can either change the github.dev URL at the very top, or you can click this hamburger menu at the very top left, then say that you want to go to the repository. So I'm just going to do that. And in a new tab, it's going to open my repository. You can see our commit message. So that means the changes that we made have already been synchronized with GitHub. And so at this point, I'm thinking, I don't want to point recruiters to my GitHub repository for them to see my resume, right? I want to share with them a unique URL. So that means I probably need something more than just having my resume on this GitHub repository. And I remember someone once mentioned something called a static web app. So let's just look into what that is for a moment. So a static web app is a modern solution that enables you to, host your applications. And it's actually a platform that enables web application hosting and development directly from source code, what we have, and to global accessibility, what we need. So I currently have my source code, but I want a way to get it to a global accessibility level. So with that in mind, I now think that I have what I need to make this available to all recruiters. So you can see this illustration on your screen. And what is happening is that once you configure your static web app on Azure, this actually configures a GitHub action that monitors your code on GitHub. And anytime you commit changes to your project on GitHub, it automatically triggers a workflow that is going to deploy your project to the cloud. So that means, in other words, if you create your static web app on Azure, you don't have to keep going back to Azure to update it once you have any changes or updates to your website, but you only need to push your changes on GitHub, and that will automatically trigger that workflow that will, in a matter of seconds, render your changes to the live site. Now, I know you're thinking all that looks so sweet and so true and too good to be true. So I'm just going to go ahead to the second demo where now we're going to deploy this resume website to the cloud. And at this point, I'm thinking we only have one problem. I'm a student, so I don't really have the money to pay for this service. But again, I remember Regina earlier mentioned that we have the Azure for Student benefit that actually gives me up to $100 worth of Azure credits every year. And it also gives me access to over 25 services for free. And guess what? An Azure Static Web App is one of the services that you can use a free hosting plan. So that means without that finance, I can be able to get to what I want. So I'm just going to go back to my browser, and I won't actually wait for anything. I'll just go back to Azure. So you'll navigate to portal.azure.com to follow along. So you'll just need to sign into Azure using an email and an account that has an Azure for Students subscription. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So I'm just going to use an email that has an Azure for Students subscription because that will allow me to access these services for free as a student. Again, let me just zoom in. So right here, I'm on Azure, and you can see the different services that we have on Azure. Believe me, these services are very many. In case you have any projects, I highly recommend that you check out. But for today, we just want to host our site directly from the source code we have on GitHub to the cloud. So the resource we're looking for is called an Azure Static Web App. So you would likely see this Static Web Apps resource at the top. That is if you've interacted with it before. And once you hover on it, you will see some additional information on what you can do using it. But in case it's not at this very top, you can just look for Static Web App, and it should be able to be among the results. So I'm just going to click Static Web Apps. You can see I don't have any created, so I'm going to say that I want to create one. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. So yeah, now we just have to configure a few things because remember, once we create this, we don't have to come back to Azure again. Everything will be automated. I just need to keep updating my website on GitHub. So we need to select the subscription that we are going to use for this project. So by default, it picks the Azure for Students because it's the subscription I have. And there's a likelihood that it's also the subscription that you'll be using. Then we're going to select a resource group. So think of a resource group as a folder that stores all the related files. So if you have a project that has multiple files and multiple resources, you can store them in one resource group. So in this case, if you don't have one, you can just click this link to create a new resource. But I have one that I can use for my personal project. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then I need to give my static web app a name. So I'm just going to call it Julia-resume. That's good enough for me. And if that name is available, you'll get a green check mark. Then on the hosting plan, as I said, you have some resources on Azure that are available for free. So in this case, since it's just a personal project, I'm going to select the free hosting plan. Nothing else to change there. Then we also need to select like a region. So you need to select a region where you're going to host this resource. So remember that Azure has multiple regions where you can choose to host the resources in different parts of the world. So it is highly recommended that you select a region that is closest to you. So myself, based out of Africa, I would say that West Europe would work the best for me. But in your case, just look at the options provided and choose a region that is in close proximity to where you are. Reason being, the closer the region is to you, the low latency you will be experiencing. So in this case, we really want it to be super fast. So for my case, I'm going to select West Europe, but in your case, that might not be, what the best option. So just evaluate from the options provided, where can you actually select to be the best for you. Now, remember when I said you can actually configure this service to just read your code on GitHub. So that means we need to provide that linkage between Azure Static Web Apps and GitHub platform. So in that case, you'd be required to select the source of your code. In this case, our code is on GitHub. You will be required to sign into your GitHub account. Now, I already signed in before, so I won't be prompted to do that. But if this is your very first time, you would be required to sign in to GitHub and authorize Azure Static Web Apps to access your GitHub account. And once you do that, you will see that instantly it's going to load up your GitHub organization and your repositories, and you'll be able to configure that specific repository where we added our resume details to the Azure Static Web App. So organization, I'm going to select my GitHub username, and you will see that instantly it loads up all the repositories that I have in my account. So this particular repository is called my resume. So you can see it's already there, and I'm going to select it. And then I need to select a branch. Now, if you're working in a team setup, most likely you'll have a main branch which renders the live site, but you might have different branches for the production and for the development. So in this case, you need to specify where exactly should the static web app read the code from. So I'm going to select main since I only have one branch. And then the final piece of the configuration, remember, we want our application to just be able to run and redeploy every time without our manual intervention. So I'm just going to select the build presets. And one thing about Azure Static Web Apps is that it actually helps you work with the framework you're most comfortable with. So if you build a project and you're using whichever web framework, be it Angular, be it Next.js, Vue.js, whichever framework you're comfortable using, Azure Static Web App is able to identify it once you select, and it's going to pre-configure the required files and make everything super easy for you. Now, we also, this particular resource also recognizes the static site generator. So if you're using Hugo or Gatsby, that's also recognizable from this platform. So in this case, we're just rendering a simple HTML file because remember, the goal is to have our resume globally accessible. So I'm just going to go ahead and click custom since we're not really using any framework. And then you need to provide these details like where is the app located. In this case, we're just in the default directory. So we're not really providing any other folders. But in case you have some APIs, this is another advantage of a static web app. It gives you the option to even expand your application. If you have your static files, if you have your backend, if you're having APIs, you're able to also host your APIs using this resource. In this case, as I said, it's a very simple program. So we're just going to leave everything as it is. And I'm just going to hit review and create. That's all the configuration you need to do. Once this succeeds and completes, you will actually not be required to come back to Azure again. So just a quick recap. I'll just give it a few seconds to create our static web app. But just a recap of what we've done. We had an empty repository on GitHub, and then we were able to add some files. So I'm just going to tell it to create. That will take a few seconds. We added our code. So we added our resume details, and then we headed over to the Azure portal, created an Azure Static Web App, which allows us to host our application directly from source code to the cloud. And that is also automated for us. So everything we've done is actually going to cover the automation bit of it. And so right now we're just waiting for our resource to be created. And you can see the deployment is already in progress. So there's this notification icon at the very top. So I can, oops, it's already complete. So you can see how fast that was. So our resource has been created, and we're going to go to the resource, and I'm just going to hit browse. So I just want to browse and see this live site that we have created. So you can see that we already have a URL that is unique. So this is a URL that is unique to you. This is where your resume will be hosted. But you can see that we currently don't have any content. So you're wondering, hey, where is my resume? Where are all the details? So we're just going to go back to GitHub. And I'm going to refresh this. And I don't know if you're able to notice something, that when we started, we only had 3 files. But right now, out of nowhere, we have an additional folder. So let's just check what is in this folder. I'm going to click on the folder, and you'll see that we have an Azure Static Web App workflow file that has been generated for us. So let's just open and see what's going on in here. So just to point out, we didn't need to even write all these 45 lines of code. We didn't have to write anything. Just the configuration we did on Azure was able to carry this out for us. So you can see that this is just a workflow, and the name is the Azure Static Web App CI/CD. So that means anytime we make a push to the main branch, that is going to automatically trigger the build and deploy job. So that means for you as a developer, you don't have to worry about deploying this manually. You just need to focus on your work, focus on your code, and everything will be automatically done for you. So you can also see we have a dot here, which is mustard in color. So what this shows us is that there's an activity going on. So that means this particular action, and if I navigate to the actions tab at the very top, I can just click on actions, and you'll see that this is the workflow that was running. But since we already have that green check mark, that means it has completed. So that means it has already picked the code on my GitHub and redeployed it to my application. So now if I go back to our site and do a refresh, I should be able to see my resume being visible there. And right now I'm very happy, because if any recruiter asks for my CV or my resume, instead of doing what everyone does, I'm just going to point them to this URL and ask them to check out my resume website. So you can see how easy that was. And I don't have, as I said, I don't have to keep going back to Azure. Once I make any change on my code and I push it, it will automatically deliver that to my live application. So that's just about it with how you go about building your resume website using GitHub and Azure. So just a summary of what we've done. We've created a resume website on GitHub. We used github.dev, so that means we didn't really need to do anything on a local computer. And then we created an Azure Static Web App. And as a student, remember, you get this for free, so you don't have to worry about the costs. And then we set up that automatic that workflow so that everything is automated and I just have to focus on my code. So that's just it about the workshop. I hope you all create your resume websites and be able to share with your recruiters and stand out from the crowd. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia. That was so fantastic, and just like such a fast way to get your resume live on the internet. I know, like, for a long time, I kind of secretly was like, oh, I don't know how to make a website, and I definitely don't know how to deploy it. So I kind of felt like I wasn't a real developer, which isn't true. You can definitely be a real developer and not know how to do that. But it's also just nice to know that you can do it just that quickly. Have you done something similar to this before, Victor?
No, I think I was more on the school level, so I don't know how to make a website, and so it's just really interesting to see how you can do that. I think it's been a good learning for me as well.
Fantastic that we can just do the whole thing in 45 minutes, from getting started with GitHub with Yuval to Julia deploying a website. So that was absolutely fantastic, and big a round of applause to both of them for taking us through that. To summarize, some people did ask for the steps in the chat. Create a GitHub account, create a GitHub repository, then just create those 3 files that we had, and then you can put in all of the content from Julia's link that we had, and then you can fill it out with your own details. And then you deploy it as Julia did in her second part of the workshop. If you missed the code, I've popped the link back up on the screen so you can do that. And you can watch this video all on demand later. So these videos will live on YouTube for as long as they live on YouTube, which is like forever. So yeah, come back and watch it if you didn't manage to get your Azure for Students account working. And you can come and watch it again and hang out with us all, in the past in the video form. So if you liked that or you want to learn more stuff, there is so much opportunity for you to do that on Microsoft Learn. So we've got a link here. So we've put together a collection of Microsoft Learn. So we've curated a couple of things that are really good to get started with if you're new to the cloud, if you're new to coding, new to GitHub, new to Azure, any of that stuff, perfect for people who are new to this kind of stuff. There's also, check that out, get involved and complete our collection. There's also hundreds, thousands of modules to do on Microsoft Learn, where you can learn so many different things. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 months since I joined Microsoft, is just learning and then doing a stream on it. So you can pick up if you want to learn about whatever you want, AI or Kubernetes or any other fancy word that you've heard, you can go and find out what it is on Microsoft Learn. So check it out, or come along to one of mine or my colleagues' streams who will run through these different modules and teach you how you can get involved with Microsoft Learn. So that's our workshop. But we have to we do want to have one more question that we're going to ask you right now, which is, how did you find that session? We want to know, was it harder or easier than you thought it was going to be to complete something and like deploy something on the cloud? So jump on to Menti and let us know how you found that experience. And then we're going to throw to our panel shortly. So let's jump across. How did we all find it? So many things, so much easier than we thought. Amazing. That's what we love to hear. Like, that's what these workshops are all about. And like these modules on Microsoft Learn just show you that, like, it sounded so hard because you kind of just didn't know anything about it. So thank you all for submitting your answers and letting us know that we're doing the right content, and letting everybody know that you're all there together. And you thought it was going to be hard because if you could, maybe you didn't, like, if you're going to say it was way easier, you probably thought it was pretty hard to start off with. So it's really nice to know that other people think something's difficult, not just you. I think it's something that like makes me feel a bit better when I'm like, oh no, what if I don't know enough about coding? But it turns out there's just too much coding to know.
I think our presenters also have done a fantastic job in making the content understandable. Yeah.
So accessible. I'm just like, what champions, especially like Julia's a pro, and then Yuval did a great job. He's a student, so get involved with the Microsoft Student Ambassador Program like Yuval, or also he's in the Student Accelerator Program, which we'll drop the links again at the end of the session, or the Ambassador Program. They're very similar. Do both, I recommend. Get involved with the Accelerator and then use that to get into the Ambassador Program. That's my hot tip. So thank you all so much for filling in our survey. I'm going to hand over to Victor to introduce our next session.
Thanks, Renee. So we're now moving on to the section on the Imagine Cup. We did allude to this earlier. So for this bit, I will introduce Chitrakshi, Gosain, who will end up introducing the rest of the star-studded panelists that we have. So Chitra is an international student at UNSW in her third year of a bachelor's studies in computer science and neuroscience. Interestingly, she has a passion for teaching and giving back to the community, which she does through her work as an academic tutor at UNSW and as a volunteer for RoboGals and many other organizations that promote the inclusion of women and disadvantaged minorities in the tech industry. She's also involved with the Microsoft Student Accelerator, seeking opportunities to grow her own skills and pass those learnings along to her peers. So I'll just pass this time to Chitra, and she'll host the panel session.
Hi, everyone. We'll just start by introducing our panelists. So we have Kalpani, Nicole, and Tyrell with us. I'll quickly introduce Kalpani first. So Kalpani is the co-developer and presenter from Team Nana Shilpa from Sri Lanka. She participated in Imagine Cup, and she was also the winner for the Asia Pacific region. That's amazing. And was the runner-up for the World Championship. We also have Tyrell with us. Tyrell graduated from Massey University in 2018 with a degree in electronics and computer engineering and is currently completing his PhD. He has been a data science and machine learning lecturer at Massey, and his main research interests include novel positioning systems and IoT sensors networks. Since co-founding ProTag in 2021, he has relocated to T. Aroha, the hometown of his wife, who also happens to be ProTag's lead vet. That's pretty amazing. Deep in the heart of dairy country, where he works closely with trial farmers, vets, and cows. We also have Nicole with us. Nicole is currently working as a customer success manager for Microsoft New Zealand, and she's helping organizations navigate digital transformation through the adoption of Microsoft modern work solutions. She's passionate about harnessing technology and human ingenuity for social impact, sustainability, accessibility, and advancing diversity and inclusion in STEM. She has worked in diverse roles, including data science, consulting, marketing, and financial services. She was also a finalist in Imagine Cup New Zealand in 2013 and a runner-up in Imagine Cup New Zealand in 2014, where she launched a startup with her team following the competition. In 2018, she was also responsible for running Microsoft Imagine Cup in New Zealand and helped champion the unprecedented 3 New Zealand teams to qualify for the World Finals, with one team reaching the semi-finals. That's absolutely amazing, Nicole. Like, I'm pretty sure I'll be so lucky to have you as my mentor if I ever try on participating in Imagine Cup. Okay, so just to start us off, I have a few questions prepared for our panelists. My first question to all of you is, what idea did you and your team come up with the Imagine Cup?
Who's jumping in first? Do we just take it in any order?
Yeah, sure. You can go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So hi everyone. My name's Tyrell from ProTag, and we competed in the Imagine Cup last year. And so a bit of background to what we're doing. The world's population's set to hit 10 billion by 2050, and we're going to need another 70% of food production to feed everyone. And livestock farming is currently one of the most carbon intensive forms of food production, despite being the most kind of nutritionally complete and being able to utilize the byproducts of other food production methods, and also being able to use land that's not suitable for any other purpose. So you're kind of creating value for the food chain out of resources that would otherwise go nowhere. So that means that animal production is still going to be one of the methods that we need to feed a growing population, but we can't keep doing it the way we've been doing it. We need a better farming method. So at ProTag, we've developed the world's most advanced smart ear tag for cattle. So it's kind of like a Fitbit that goes on the cow, and it's got advanced sensors and machine learning that allows you to unlock the complete picture of a cow, so its health and its habits, and this information is used by farmers to be more productive with their farming methods, but also intervene early on any illnesses so that you reduce antibiotics, more production, just an overall new approach to farming that focuses on cows as individuals rather than just big collections of meat products. And so the core value of what we're looking to do is to basically improve the welfare worldwide of cows, their farmers, and the planet.
Oh, that sounds good. Nicole, do you want to go next?
Yep. Thanks very much. So when I entered Imagine Cup in 2014 with my team, as our team was focusing a lot more on a social impact project, and our mission was really to inspire and bridge the generation gap and connect families through digital collaborative storytelling and preserving oral history. And the reason being that we were a team of passionate university students that were brought together by our personal beliefs of celebrating our older generations and preserving their life stories and wisdom for future generations, especially because we've had our own personal experiences of losing loved ones, beloved grandparents, and some of us volunteered at retirement villages where we connected with senior citizens. And after talking to some of them, we realized that most of the people that we talked to did not actually record their life stories. And the families, when they lose their loved ones, there's nothing left behind of the memories and personal stories that hold so much value for them. So when we look at the fact that our world is, there's an increasing life expectancy, so there's a lot of people who are aging, but some of our senior citizens are not well equipped with technology, and they're losing their voice in this digital era. So we were looking at building a tool, a mobile app that helped our younger generations connect better with their grandparents. So that was what we focused on, and it was a fantastic experience. We really, really helped us learn a lot of skills through the process. We managed to build a mobile app that we actually managed to field test with some of our audiences, including with the senior citizens and the families themselves. And then later on, we kind of expanded our project after Imagine Cup to grow into more of a social enterprise. So we kind of explored different options for how we can actually scale and grow the idea, including running events for the communities. And also one of the highlights we had at the time was running our own crowdfunding campaign to help fund a digital exhibition of stories that we worked on together with the RSA, which is a return services organization in New Zealand, preserving the histories of 50 World War II veterans that we interviewed. And it was a very touching experience for us, because talking to some of these families, just understanding how much they appreciated the fact that technology can do so much in connecting people, and really, really touched our hearts. And I do have to say, because of my experience with Imagine Cup, it really shifted my view and my perspective about technology and its impact for humanity and for the world. And later on, I've really looked into kind of the whole world of, how can we do more with tech? How can we solve some of the most challenging problems in the world? Things like tackling some of the things that are addressed by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I would have to say, it was a huge turning point in my life, because without Imagine Cup, I wouldn't even have had the confidence to get into tech. I was actually a business student, so at the time I wasn't that technical, and I had to learn a lot and upskill myself, both in terms of soft skills as well as technical skills. But it's given me so much confidence to make that pivot, make that career change. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I am today without Imagine Cup.
That sounds like an amazing transition from a business to creative tech. I mean, we always say, we do not really need actual tech skills to start exploring tech, and you're the prime example of that. Absolutely. Kalpani, can we have you next?
Yes, thank you. And we competed this year Imagine Cup competition, and our project is called Nana Shilpa. In English, it's translated into Wisdom to Kids. It's actually a mobile application for remote early screening and intervention solution for primary school students to identify the risk of dyscalculia and dysgraphia learning disabilities. So dysgraphia is a learning disability conditions where a student can't write the letters properly in the given space, so they struggle with writing and the whole learning process. And also the same type of learning disability condition with the dyscalculia, where students struggle with the mathematical operations, identifying numbers and simple operations in the day-to-day life and in their learning process. Actually, we came up with this idea because in our background we saw a lot of students struggle with these type of learning disabilities, but very limited knowledge where they are with the parents or the teachers, because they simply think that the students might be a lazy or not, they are kind of being playful, rather than it's a brain involved condition. So with the practice and the guidance, they can improve their condition and continue their learning process more comfortably. So our app helps the students and teachers and parents to identify learning disabilities more affordably and efficiently, and give them the opportunity to continue their education more comfortable manner.
That sounds like a lovely project. It would have been so wonderful to be involved in something like this. I really appreciate your initiative. My next question to you all is, how was your experience with Imagine Cup? What were the learnings you have had with Imagine Cup? Nicole, do you want to start us off?
Yes. So I felt it was a great experience. We were well supported by the Microsoft community, and we got to connect with mentors and student ambassadors as well, and also with other subject matter experts, and had access to resources that were able to help us upskill and learn about different technology within Microsoft ecosystem. So things like Azure. I was quite new to cloud technology, so I learned a lot about the solution architecture. How do you do wireframes, prototyping? How do you look at user experience and UI, and also in terms of pitching and building a business model. I learned some really essential skills, which I would call power skills for any role in any profession or in any, I guess, any project that you take on as a student. And I think because afterwards we were starting to launch our startup, it really pushed me outside my comfort zone, because we were looking at a lot of different things that I would never have got to do if I was just, if I didn't start this journey. So I think personally really changed my life, and my journey into tech has been a bit like a jungle gym, but I'm really grateful that I got to try these things out, and it really motivated me to just not only focus on my own projects, but also how do I give back to the community by sharing my learnings and being the champion for diversity and inclusion, especially for women in tech. And I guess also it really came full circle when I got to run the Imagine Cup in New Zealand in 2018. I was just, thinking about my journey and what it meant for me. And I was just really pleased that we got to work with the student ambassadors and Microsoft team to run the events in New Zealand. And when I saw the results from our ANZ regional finals, when the top 3 teams were all New Zealand teams, I was so thrilled, because I knew how much it meant for me to have that acknowledgement, and I knew that was, for a lot of students, it's that kind of belief that really propelled their careers. And then in that year, we actually got to go to Seattle as well and see the World Finals, so it was quite a big, just eye-opening experience. And some of the smartest students from all around the world, like the projects were absolutely incredible. They were technology, leveraging IoT, AI, machine learning, computer vision, etc. So it's just so amazing to see the amount of ingenuity in the student ecosystem who are leveraging Microsoft technologies. So I think what I love to say about Microsoft is that everything that you can gain depends on your motivation and your perseverance and curiosity. So for anyone who's listening here right now, I highly encourage you to give it a go, because you never know where your journey might take you, whether you're starting your own startups, or even working at Microsoft or any other parts of the ecosystem. I think it's a really great way to kind of expand your horizons. Like, I personally got super addicted to the whole tech and entrepreneurship space. I'm still connected to the startup ecosystems. I've done over 30 different hackathons. I just love the whole energy and environment. So that's why I'm a massive supporter of Imagine Cup.
Yeah, I absolutely relate with that. In high school, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and here I am doing a software developer degree. Like, things just change the way they change. We wanna go next with Kalpani. Do you wanna go next?
Yes, so my experience with the Imagine Cup competition also been amazing. So throughout the competition, we were able to collaborate and meet with the fabulous people from the Microsoft community all around the world. So mentoring sessions, speech practicing, and business model development, and learn new Microsoft technologies. I think the whole journey was very innovative and very uh, learn new things, meet grow your soft skills, and also meet students from everywhere and discover their cool projects and connect with them. So I think it has helped as a person, for me as a professional, grow different aspects of myself, and also for our project. So we are also planning to start up with our project. I think it has grown, gave us the lot of aspects and exposure for our idea. I think Imagine Cup for students, it's a really great opportunity to showcase your ideas for the whole world. I think I invite all the students to participate and experience this amazing journey.
Yep, absolutely. Tyler, do you want to go next and share your
Yeah.
experience with Imagine Cup? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's a couple of sentiments that I'd echo from the other guys there about that. Yeah, it's quite a good platform. I'll get to that in a bit as well. And then the exposure with all the mentors is quite big. But for us, we competed in the height of COVID, so we were completely locked down. So basically, our entire experience was done remotely over video comms, and that was, we were a little bit sad that we missed being able to be there in person. But I think developing the skills needed in order to engage quite positively over an online presence is something that is definitely important nowadays, and it did do us well. And I think the biggest thing that we took away from a learnings perspective was just that the ability to distill the ideas and communicate them really shortly and get to the punch of what you're doing and why. And it's something that sounds quite simple, but you come up with an idea or a tech solution for something, but there's so much more that's around that. And as a founder or the tech person in the middle of it, you know what it can do, you know why it's different, you know why it's going to be so amazing, but you've got a very short window of time to communicate exactly what you're doing with some key stakeholder that's going to help you move forward. And I think that was the thing we really took away, and it was just rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal, just getting grilled and then getting all this minute feedback about all the things. And at times it was a bit tough and grueling. You think, come on, get off my case. But looking back, it was all really good training, so that when we actually did spill out into a startup and went looking for fundraising, we had all that experience behind us. So it was almost a direct translation of that pitch into the real world, and it really helped. And then, the other big thing about the Imagine Cup is basically the exposure that it provides. So, after we became finalists and pitched our idea, like the publicity that Microsoft's got around it is so good that there was people kind of coming to us saying, hey, look, what was your idea? We found that really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? So not only did we have those kind of warm connections, we also had a killer pitch to just follow it up with. And I think, it's just a really good springboard for any student who's looking to actually turn an idea into reality, because it's that very first seed stage of the idea, and it gives you those soft skills to take on the world. So, strongly encourage anyone to do it. Yeah.
Yep. We'll be sharing the Menti link with you guys now. So do you want to ask some questions? So we already have a question coming up. What technologies or learnings and transferable skills did you use for the competition from high school and university? Tyler, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I just see that my my video is broken, so you're going to be just stuck with my voice. But that's all right. So I think we were quite technical founders, so we had a fair bit of exposure to some of the machine learning and embedded electronics and programming needed to build the actual product. But I think through the Imagine Cup, there was the exposure to all of the capabilities of the cloud-based stuff. And we were aware of some of it, and that was, you've got that intention as a student when you've got a bit of capacity. You think, I'll build this, and my co-founder was quite technical, and he's quite good with JavaScript. And
we lost him. Oh, do we want to, Nicole? Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can continue, and then we can wait for Tara to come back. So we were pretty multidisciplinary team, and we had skills across tech, business, marketing, design, finance, and legal. So it was, for me personally, I didn't really know too much about Azure or SQL databases or how to get things onto the cloud. So it was a lot for me to kind of understand and learn. But I think what I gained from that was just how easy it is to actually pick up on this knowledge from the resources that we had. And Microsoft has like a myriad of different places where you can find documentation and demos and just assets where you can actually kind of pick things apart and look at how to build stuff. But essentially what we were ending up building was a mobile app that helped us with understanding how we can actually store things locally, but also syncing to a database on Azure Cloud, and then utilizing SQL databases and just a lot of different things that was, I think for me at the time, because I wasn't technical, so it was a lot of things that later on, as I made my career transition to become more technical, I started doing a master in IT, and that's when I really skilled up. But I think having that prior exposure was really helpful because it made that jump a lot less intimidating. Honestly, like when I was in high school, I was really discouraged from tech. In fact, because of the bullying and negative comments about girls in tech, I actually dropped ICT, which at the time I didn't have any mentors, any support, any belief in myself. So to be able to reverse that and come back from that, I think it was really incredible. So that's why I'm very grateful for that. That door opened for me because of Imagine Cup, and then gave me so much more confidence in my skills and my potential to be part of the tech sector.
That's an amazing recovery. Kalpini, do you want to go next and share your experience?
Yes, so we were computer science undergraduate at the time we started the project. So I think we had a fair bit of knowledge about the technologies at the time we started. But when we started the project, we researched a lot and what are the technologies, what are the best options we have right now, and what are the new things we can try out with the project, because it was really fun exploring new technologies and what we can do, how we can make this a cool project with the new technologies. So the technical skills, since our project was involved a lot of image processing techniques, we used a lot of Azure technologies like Azure machine learning and container registry, and we tried a lot of things and explored them, and took a lot of videos and the resources which we had with the Microsoft. I think that journey was really really amazing, and we learned a lot of things. And also during the competition also, we had learned a lot of soft skills, and like a presentation, communication skills, and collaboration with the team, and also the how we develop the project as a business model, and analytic skills, and how to highlight our innovative idea as this, and how we are going forward this project.
Yep, that sounds good. Since we have Tyrell back, do you want to continue your answer?
Yeah, let's hope I don't cut out again. So basically, we learned all the capabilities of Azure needed for our application, and most of it was around time series databases. So the ability to do quite long-ranging queries going back in time, and the ability to store it and fetch it fast, and the ability for the cold storage and then the hot storage, and basically opened up a world of a way to make things a lot easier than we would have done it otherwise. There's always that tendency to over-engineer something, not have it work at the end of the day, and then realize there was a perfect tool for it. And I think that was what we took out of it. So so the cloud-based solutions, and then also the soft skills of pitching and getting your story right.
Yep. We have another question. So it says, how fluent should one be in Azure before taking part in the Imagine Cup? Kalpini, do you want to start us off?
I think if you have a basic knowledge, I think you can participate, because in the journey during the competition, you can learn a heap of things during the competition. So a lot of resources, and collaborate with the amazing Microsoft advocates around the world. I think even if you have a fair bit of interest with the Microsoft Asia, I think you are more than welcome to join the competition.
Yep. I think we also promote a lot of resources which are free for students. So MS Learn is a great initiative to start your Azure journey. Nicole, do you want to add something to it?
Yep, absolutely. I think if you have some basic knowledge of cloud technology, whether it's on Azure or another cloud solution, it would really help. If you don't have it, don't be afraid to try out new things. And honestly, like if you have a make sure you have a diverse team as well, because it's not just about the technology that you're building, but also how well you know your market, your audience, and how well you tell your story. Because a lot of it comes down to, you know, what do you showcase in that critical pitch that you have with your audience, and how well can you actually articulate your idea, because you don't have a lot of time. And that means that when you're focusing on building your solutions, be really good with design thinking and prototyping. Think about what is the most critical features that you need for your solution. Because the first time I did Magic Hub, which the year before I did the second one, I was actually working on a gaming idea, game for sustainability. So one of the things I would like to do differently from that particular instance was that I went too ambitious with what I want to create in the game, and then we realized that it was we have to scale it back because it's just not possible to do it for such a short amount of time. So being really focused on solving for one thing is better than trying to be scattered and solving for everything. So I think there's a lot of learning that I've had from over the years doing lots of different projects, where if you focus on doing one thing really well and telling that story really well, and knowing your market, knowing how you address the pain point, using tools like the Lean Canvas, for example, and really talking to your users, then you have a much better chance of success, as well as reducing all the extra work that you might do if you go too hard on a tech too early and then realize you have to scale it back or you have to redo some of the stuff. So I honestly think you don't have to be an expert at Azure to get it. In fact, many people come through with no prior knowledge of Azure, and they upskill and learn and grow. So this is the potential of being part of Imagine Cup. You can dream it and you can make it.
Yep, those are some great insights. Daryl, do you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you wouldn't need any familiarity really, like, and this is just my viewpoint on it, obviously, but I think the spirit of the Imagine Cup is all about having an idea that's solving a problem, and then the technical means of implementing that comes later. It starts with that seed, and then the great thing about the competition is as you work your way through it, you get exposed to all of these fantastic people who are super good at the tech side. And so rather than sort of coming with a tech solution looking for a problem, you come first with that problem, a vision of what you want to see done at the end of the day, and then start piecing together the how-to. And the Microsoft ecosystem is pretty fantastic in rolling out a prototype of something quite early. Even if you're completely lost, you'll wander through a YouTube tutorial clicking buttons, and you'll get there somehow, and you won't understand 90% of it, but it doesn't matter. You've got where you want to get going, and you're just trying all these different things to get there, and there's a lot of support along the way.
Yep. So in one sentence, we would like you guys to tell us a solid idea or software skills that are more important for Imagine Cup.
I would say actually you need a solid team. I think the team's the most important thing, because your ideas might change. As you talk to more people, you might get different feedback, which will help and shape and mold and iterate on your idea. And you can always learn these skills, but having a team of well-rounded skill sets and the right attitude is so important, because you have to be collaborating with people throughout the process.
Yep. Kalpani, what do you think?
Yes, I think I agree with that, and also I think the communication also, because if you have a good communication channel established, I think it's a really easy going forward, because I think a lot of questions and a lot of problems we have can be solved with good communication. So if you have good communication, we can come up with a lot of solution and a lot of new things and innovations.
Yep, exactly. Daryl, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'd be leaning towards a solid idea, but then I do also quite wholeheartedly agree that as you go closer and closer to getting to where you need to be, things pivot and they change, and you get more understanding of the people and the end users involved and the exact means to do it. So I think it's not so much the idea, but the end goal needs to be solid, and your ideas will change and your approach will change over time.
Yep, that sounds good. So that's a wrap. Renee, do you want to join us?
Hello. Yes. That was fantastic. I love hearing about all of your stories. I had read up on some of them, but I actually hadn't heard Nicole's story before, and it was so like inspirational. Like, and then like we're changing the environment with Terrell's idea, and also then we're helping kids with this, like who are struggling to understand numbers. I love them all, so they're all fantastic. So thank you all so much for joining us. I'm inspired. Are you inspired, Victor? Because I am counting on you entering Imagine Cup this year.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. I found that very inspirational as well, and seeing the various aspects. It can be a social impact project, as with Nicole's entry. So I thought that was just very, very meaningful. So yeah, very much inspired to participate.
We want to hear what you're all inspired about. Our lovely panelists are all backstage, so they can also still hear this. So tell us what you are inspired about, and what this panel kind of like meant to you, essentially, and what makes you want to get involved in Imagine Cup, because I'm counting on you getting involved in Imagine Cup, especially if you're in Australia or New Zealand, because last year we didn't have any Australian or New Zealand entrants in Imagine Cup. It was very sad for me. And like we've got some quality people in this panel, and we gotta live up to this expectation, because we can contribute, we can do it. So I'm here to do some mentoring, and I'm going to tell you about an event you've got to absolutely come to soon. So to get involved in Imagine Cup, well, let's have a look at. I didn't actually open it up. Okay, now we can start having a look at what people are excited about, because it's actually open to, get involved. Maybe it was on the right one a second ago. In fact, anything? No. Okay, the question about what you're excited about has gone missing. So that's okay, because you're going to tell us what you're excited about in something different in a hot minute. But if you are excited about something, do put it in the YouTube chat or the Twitch chat, wherever you are. Put it in a chat and inspire us with your inspiration. So very keen to read those. But yeah, to get you started, there was a mention of resources that help you get started, wireframes and lean canvas and all kinds of things, because we had a lot of questions about the tech, because maybe you don't know how to do the tech yet. But if we've learned anything today, is we can learn heaps of stuff from Microsoft Learn. And we've got this GitHub repo available to you that gives you a bunch of videos to help you get started with design thinking, which we've already done a little bit of today, and other really useful stuff that will help you on your journey in the Imagine Cup. So please check that out. Heaps of good stuff in there. But it is nearly time for us to say goodbye, but we have a few things to wrap up first. So let's kick it over to those. Firstly, we have our pitches. So, Victor, can you please read out your first favorite pitch?
This was our first one. So, do you ever wonder what your pet behavior means? I want to make an app integrated with object detection to detect pet behavior and translate what it means using trained models and opinions from pet experts to make you a better owner.
I love it.
It's an interesting one.
I want to understand why my pets scream at me in the middle of the night, then fix it. That would be good. So please invent this to help me get a good night's sleep. We're counting on it. I'll see you at Imagine Cup at the event we're running in November. Here's one that I chose out. We've got imagine if you cannot understand what your best friend wants to tell you. With our pet translator, make conversations easier with your friend. I don't know if you can build this. If you can, I'll be amazed. But it kind of just got my heartstrings. It was like, what if you can't talk to your best friend? That's so sad. And then it was your pet. So that's a good way in, like with the emotional hint.
It shows how much the pet means. Like it's not even treated as a pet. It's a best friend.
That's it. It's beautiful.
Nice, yeah.
We've got another one from Victor.
Yes, this one. Worried about your pet's health while you're away at work? Worry not. With a pet health tracker, you are able to view live data of your pet through an app and an emergency trigger that will alert any pet health services if you notice any anomalies. I like the pitches style. First, if anything, just the pitches style of this one. I think I like that. It's quite a good draw.
We want to stay connected with our pets. We love them. That's why we let them scream at us in the middle of the night and destroy the carpet and whatever they do. So they're worth it. We have one more We said we're going to do 3, but we've included 4 because this person submitted the same answer like in 4 different pitches several times, and then they threatened to go to Google and AWS if we didn't include it. So I thought that was very funny. So we've included 2 words: robot pet. Never have to feed them. Take them to a vet. If the pet gets an issue, a new one is delivered and has the same habits like your older one. It never gets hungry. And it charges itself. What more could you ask for an artificial intelligent pet? So there were several like this robo pets in there. Like the Jetsons dog was referenced. A lot of good stuff. So we put it in there. You're our bonus one for today. So that was very exciting. Thank you all so much for submitting your pet pitches. We also had some non-pet related pictures. We maybe didn't make it clear we were looking for pet pictures, but there was some fantastic like other solutions for real world problems that affect your local area. So thank you so much for submitting those. Please do go and submit those and like make them for the Imagine Cup. We're excited to see them come to life. So we've got only a couple more questions for you on Menti before we finally wrap up. We're going to give you all those links again in a hot minute. But yeah, let's check out what you are excited for on Menti. So we'll give you a second to check that out. Here we go. What are we excited for? Oh, we're excited for a lot of stuff. Look, we've got to work on these student ambassadors. We've got to have some more because I would like some more Australian student ambassadors to mentor and hang out with. Because like how much fun I've had so much fun with Victor today. So it's been a good time.
Real time.
You could,
I think the number, yep.
Yep, all yours.
No, I was gonna say the numbers of student land ambassadors has been dropping, like from the recent years. So it would be good to have a bit more come in.
It's really about like inspiring your peers to learn with Microsoft Learn. So get amongst it, and like you get access to like you get some perks like extra credit and some swag and mentoring. I will mentor you if you don't watch out, or somebody else who talks slightly less fast or whatever. We've got options of people to hang out with and become part of the Microsoft community. So very excited to that. Lots of people are going to come back to the reactor because that's where I work and live, in the reactor. I don't live in it, but you know, my work lives in it. And yeah, lots of people want to do more with GitHub and Azure. So catch my streams or my colleagues' streams where we do stuff on GitHub and Azure all the time. So yeah, we're going to give you all the links in a second so you can do all these things. But we do want you first to describe the Student Summit in one word. So hit us with your Student Summit summary words. I didn't progress the slide, did I? No, I did. It's coming. It's beautiful.
Yeah, coming through.
That's good. We do have the 7-second delay, which I occasionally forget about, and it's beautiful. Not punctual. That's true. We are a little bit over time. We had too much good stuff to put into the show, which, you know, that'll happen. But I think if you didn't enjoy it, I don't think you'd still be here. So I don't know. I'm going to take it as a compliment, if anything. We were going well up until the workshops, which like they're a bit hard to keep to time because you do need to make sure it all happens, and there's a lot to learn. But we made a whole resume website, so I don't think we are too accountable for keeping to time. I've been having fun. Yeah, what's your favorite words on here, Victor?
Wow. Well, they're very general adjectives. So I just like the positive, the awesome, captivating, out of imagination. I think meaning to say it surpassed expectation. I think that's what that means. Yeah. Educating, which is good. Yeah.
Determined. Determined. Those are some excellent words. Okay, we're going to let you keep putting those in. Maybe we'll flick back to this in a second. But we will go back to our final links. If you enjoyed this session, you might enjoy my next workshop. Well, not my next one, but coming up in November, my next workshop, especially for students, is the Imagine Cup Ponder, Plan, Pitch. we're going to work on a little bit of that design thinking, but more about thinking about the technology, the implementation, and like the pitch that surrounds what you are going to build. So we come along to that. You can get some mentoring from me, and hopefully some other Microsofties will be there too. It's on the 10th of November at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. It's going to be online, so you can all come along. So jump and onto that link that our lovely producer Sarah has put up in the chat. If you can't wait till November, don't worry. Next week on the 13th of October, you can do more stuff on GitHub. We're going to be making GitHub profiles, which is something until I got this job, I didn't even know you could like change your GitHub profile, but we're going to be making them look great, adding some cool features so people can like see your different stats and awesome stuff. And yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. I've got my special guest host, Amanda Hogan, who is an absolute legend. She's been on Code Garden this last month. If you want to catch more on how to make a portfolio website with GitHub pages, you can watch back over this month's Code Garden. September's Code Garden. It's October now. And yeah, but come along. We'll be making our GitHub portfolio. We've got a morning and an afternoon session, depending on what time zone you're in. So you can pick the one that suits you best. We've got 2 links there that Sarah has put in the chat. And finally, here are all the links again, so you don't miss out. We hope to see you at the next Reactor event. We hope you sign up for a career at Microsoft or Founders Hub or the Student Accelerator or the Student Ambassador Program. And we really hope you go and enjoy more with the Microsoft Learn collection and just lots of opportunities to learn, connect with us, and stay in our community with the Reactor and the student team at Microsoft. So yeah, that's our very exciting event. We just want to say a big thank you to everybody. Firstly, big thank you to Victor, my amazing co-host. We've been having a lot of fun here. Yeah, all of our amazing speakers, panelists, hosts throughout the session. And we had a bunch of people backstage that you might not have seen. Well, you saw some of them. Chitra and Regina were on the screen at some point, but they've been doing stuff backstage all day. As well as in the chat, you would have seen Omar Prakash, David, Pradeep, and Jaflet, and they've all been helping us out answering your questions. So big round of applause to everybody involved, and of course, our lovely producer, Sarah, who's been dropping you links every minute of this event. So thank you, everybody, and thank you to everyone who helped bring us together, and all of the Microsofties who dropped in throughout. So let's take one final look at all of our words. It's been an insightful, fun, awesome, informative, and engaging education experience by the looks of it. Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, that's the end of the show. Do you have anything else to say, Victor?
No, I thanks everyone for joining, and really glad I was able to be involved on the Student Summit and be a co-host. I think there's just so much value learning from different presenters and just being in a student community as well. So really enjoyed it.
It's been an amazing, diverse team bringing this event together from all around the Asia Pacific region. So thank you for being part of that. And we hope to see you at the next Microsoft Reactor event. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.